Records of the Past, Volume 3. By A. H. Sayce. Preface. In presenting a new volume of the Records of the Past to the public, I feel it my duty to remind the reader of certain words which I wrote in the preface to the first volume. I there said that, the writer who wishes to make use of a translation from an Egyptian or Assyrian text for historical or controversial purposes ought to know where it is certain, and where it is only possible, or at most probable. I therefore promised that, in the present series of volumes doubtful words and expressions should be followed by a note of interrogation, the preceding word being put into italics where necessary. That is to say, that the reader should be forewarned whenever the translator was himself in doubt as to the correctness of his rendering. So far as lies within the power of an editor, this promise has been fulfilled. But it must be remembered that in many cases a translator may consider that the version he proposes admits of no question, whereas another scholar may take a different view, and hold the version to be incorrect. Such cases occur even in translations from Latin and Greek authors, still more so in the translation of the Old Testament. It is impossible for all men to think alike even in matters of philology. Gradually, no doubt, with the progress of knowledge, approach is made to unanimity of opinion, but after all it is only approach. It is only young scholars who think themselves qualified to set all the world right. In the decipherment and translation of what may be termed the monumental languages of the past, Egyptian, Assyrian, Phoenician, and the like, much depends upon the nature of the text. Historical texts are fortunately the simplest, and are naturally the first to attract the notice of the decipherer. Consequently, the historical texts of Egypt or of Assyria can now be read with almost as much ease and certainty as the historical books of the Hebrew Scriptures. The case is different when we come to deal with texts of a more complicated character, and when we recollect how uncertain is the translation of much of the language in the non-historical books of the Old Testament. We need not wonder that the Egyptian or Assyrian translator should intersperse his renderings of religious and mythological texts with notes and queries, or should improve upon them from time to time as his materials increase. In one respect, however, he possesses an advantage over the Old Testament student. He generally has to deal with texts which are fairly free from the corruptions of copyists. The Assyrian translator, moreover, has at his disposal an enormous mass of literature, much exceeding that contained in the Old Testament, though it is true that but a comparatively small part of it has as yet been examined. Like all other branches of inductive science, the science of decipherment is one of probabilities. Absolute certainty is unattainable, whether we are translating an inscription of Sennacherib or the Book of Genesis. But for all practical purposes a high probability amounts to absolute certainty, and it is this high probability that the decipherment of the ancient monuments of Egypt and Assyria or Babylonia has now attained. Scholars may dispute about the exact meaning of certain words or phrases, as they do in the case of the Hebrew Bible, but it is seldom that anything of importance turns upon the dispute, at all events so far as regards the historical inscriptions. And in the present series of volumes due notice is given to the reader of the occurrence of such disputed words and phrases. When once we have settled the philological signification of a historical text, there begins the equally important work of critically examining it. We have first to ask whether it is contemporaneous with the event or events which it professes to record, and if not, whether its authorities or its interpretation of its authorities are trustworthy. This is more especially the case as regards chronology, the skeleton and framework of history. I do not think, therefore, that it will be out of place even in a preface, to examine some of the data we possess at present for determining the chronology of Babylonia and Assyria. Translations of the documents upon which it rests have been given in the two previous volumes of this series. Nothing can be more satisfactory than the chronology of Assyria so far as it extends. The Assyrians were a people of business, and they carried their business habits into their mode of reckoning time. Each year was distinguished by the name of a particular officer, the limu or eponym, after whom it was called, and as the names of the eponyms were recorded on the accession of each to office and registers of them were kept. There was no difficulty in determining the exact year in which an event occurred or a new king ascended the throne. 1. In Babylonia, however, the custom of counting the years by eponyms does not seem to have existed, at all events in early times. From the era of Nabonassar, BC 747, downwards Babylonian chronology was fixed by means of astronomy. Before that period it appears to have been determined by the reigns of the kings and the duration of dynasties. In legal documents of the time of Khammuragas, or Hammurabi, deeds are not even dated by the regnal years of the sovereign, but by such occurrences as a war, the construction of a canal, or the capture of a city. Under such circumstances it is plain that the historian who endeavored to restore the early chronology of Babylonia had an extremely difficult task before him. Our materials for reconstructing the chronology of Babylonia are given at the beginning of the present series of records of the past. I have already noted the suspicious character of the ciphers attached to the first dynasty of Babylon, in what may be termed the dynastic tablet. And the discrepancy in two of our documents between the length of reign assigned to the kings of the dynasties of the sea and of Bitbatsi. Other facts go to show that the Tablet of Dynasties was drawn up by a compiler who lived at a comparatively late date and extracted a system of chronology from older materials. Contemporaneous documents lately discovered at Niffer prove that the true name of Ebizim, who is made the 8th king of the first dynasty, was really Abisuk. A seal in the possession of Mr. R. P. Gregg, belonged to a librarian who calls himself the servant of the king Absuk or Abiasuk, and contract tablets make it clear that the name is really compounded with the word Abia, father, and has nothing to do with Ebizim, an actor. It is questionable, moreover, whether Khammuragas or Hammurabi, the exact reading of the last syllable is still doubtful, was the son of Sin-Muballit, as is stated by the author of the dynastic list. At all events the name he gives to his father in one of his inscriptions seems to have been different. 2. And the compiler of the document which contains Assyrian translations of the names of early Babylonian kings evidently regarded him as of foreign origin. In this document, accordingly, he is classed, like Ammisaduqa III with Kur-Galzu, Sima-Sipak, and other Kassite princes. From a strictly philological point of view the classification is incorrect. The Kassite language was non-Semitic, whereas the names of Ammisaduqa and Hammurabi are Semitic, though not Assyro-Babylonian. Along with those of Samsu-Satana, and probably also Samsu-Luna and Abiasuk, they belong to the Semitic dialects spoken by tribes of Arabian descent on the western and eastern frontiers of Babylonia. It is only geographically, therefore, and not philologically, that the names of Hammurabi and Ammisaduqa can be grouped with those of the Kassite kings. The Babylonians had some difficulty in pronouncing and writing the second element in the name of Ammisaduqa, and in contemporaneous inscriptions it appears under various forms, the most correct of which is Zaduqa. For it represents, in fact, the Hebrew tzaddik, and belongs to a root which is not found in Assyrian. We now have evidence, however, that it was known at an early date to the Manian language, which extended from the southern coast of Arabia to the borders of Palestine and Chaldea. Among the inscriptions discovered by M. Halevi in the south of Arabia is one in which mention is made of Ammisaduqa, who was appointed by the Manian king, Abiyata, governor of the fortress of Zar on the Egyptian frontier, as well as of the neighboring district of Ashur, see Gen. 25, 3. Professor Hummel, to whom the discovery of these facts is due, points out that the inscription must belong to a very early epoch indeed, probably to that of the Hyksos in Egypt. However this may be, the name Ammisaduqa is identical with that of the Babylonian king Ammisaduqa. 5 The author of the explanatory list of Babylonian royal names renders both Ammi and Kammu by the Assyrian Kimtu family. It is more probable that in both instances it is really the name of a god. Ben-Ammi was the father of the children of Ammon, according to Gen 19. 38, and the Old Testament presents us with names like Amiel, Amminadab, Balaam, and Jeroboam, while Assurbanipal tells us of Amoledim, king of the Kedarites. The more correct rendering of Num. 22. 5 would be Pether, which is by the river, Euphrates, of the land of the children of Ammo, and it is stated in a cuneiform text, W. I. 2. 54. 65, that Emu, the exact equivalent of the Hebrew Ammo, was the name given to the god Nergal by the Hittites on the western banks of the Euphrates. The fact that in Hammurabi the initial ayin of Amo is represented by kh, pointing to a pronunciation with gain, is indicative of dialectal differences, and implies that the dialects to which the names of Hammurabi and Amizadaga belonged were not the same. We may conclude, therefore, that the first dynasty of Babylon had been formed out of the reigns of kings who did not belong to the same nationality, much less to the same family, and that consequently the relationship assumed by the compiler of the dynastic tablet to have existed between them was imaginary. The first 4 or 5 kings of the dynasty were probably local rulers of Babylon. Hammurabi, as we know, conquered the other states of Babylonia and made it a united kingdom, with Babylon as its center. It is with him, therefore, that the first dynasty of Babylon ought properly to commence. The earlier kings of the dynasty owe their inclusion in it to local vanity. It is possible, however, that they claimed precedence over the other Semitic princes of Babylonia, since we know that the power of one of them, Zabu, extended as far as Sippara. And he may accordingly have claimed to have been the representative of the ancient Semitic empire of Sargon, which had its seat in the close neighborhood of Sippara. The relation of the Babylonian dynasties given by the native compiler to those which have been excerpted by George the Synkellos from the Chaldean history of Berossos cannot be determined at present. It is difficult to find any agreement between them before the time of Nabonassar. On the other hand, the statements of Berossos have been verified by the monuments in several important particulars. His account of the deluge was taken from native documents, and his history and chronology of the period which begins with the era of Nabonassar show a close acquaintance with the actual facts. It is of course possible that the numbers, whether of reigns or of years, given by the Synkellos, are corrupt and erroneous. But even so, the scheme of dynasties proposed by Berossos does not agree with the scheme found on the cuneiform tablets. It is clear that more than one system of chronology and dynastic arrangement must have been current in Babylonia. In one point, however, I think I can show that Berossos had good authority at his back. This is the statement that, almost at the beginning of assured Babylonian history, Babylon was captured by Medes, who ruled the country for 8 generations. Now the inscriptions of Nabonidus and Kairos have proved that the subjects of Astuvigu or Astyages, who were called Medes, by the Greeks, were called Manda, by the Babylonians. The Greeks in fact confounded the two words Mada, Medes, and Manda, led thereto by the fact that both Mada and Manda alike came from the mountains on the northeast of Babylonia. Manda, however, was not a proper name in the same sense as Mada. It is usually preceded by Tsab, soldier, and though not Assyrian, I believe it to have had its origin among the Semitic tribes on the eastern side of Chaldea, and to be related to the Hebrew Nud, to wander. Tsab Manda will therefore be the equivalent of the biblical Eretz Nod or Nomad Land, Gen 4. 16. The title is applied by Esarhaddon to Tuspa the Cimmerian, the Gemira or Cimmerians, the Gomer of the Old Testament, being further distinguished from the Mada or Medes. The title, however, was much older than the age of Esarhaddon. It occurs several times in the astrological tablets. The most important example of its use is in W.A.L. 3. 61, 21, 22, where we read, that Sab Manda comes and governs the land. The altars of the great gods are taken away. Bel goes to the land of Elam. It is prophesied that after 30 years the smitten shall be restored, and that, the great gods shall return with them. The same catastrophe is referred to in another passage of the great work on astrology, W.A.I. 3. 64, 7, 8. That Sab Manda invades the land and rules over the country. The prophecy is interesting on account of its analogy to the prophecy of the restoration of the Jews after 70 years of exile, J 25. 11. But what is equally interesting is that while Bel, the national god of Babylon, flies for refuge to Elam, his country is handed over to the rule of the Manda and its altars are broken down. I cannot but think that in these Manda we ought to see the Medes of Berossos who captured Babylon and founded there the first historical dynasty. They will represent Hammurabi, Ammi-Saduqa, and the other kings whose names betray their origin among the nomad Semites on the frontiers of Chaldea. Berossos was right rather than the compiler of the dynastic tablet in making Hammurabi the founder of the dynasty under which Babylon became for the first time the capital of a united Babylonia. If the Sinkelos can be trusted, Berossos reckoned 8 kings to his Median dynasty. The compiler gives Hammurabi only 5 successors. But it is questionable whether he has collected the names of all the kings who followed him. At all events, I possess a contract tablet from Niffer, which belongs to the age of Hammurabi and Ammi-Saduqa, but is dated in the reign of a king whose name does not occur in the compiler's list. It reads A.M. Muesaididuan, perhaps Amu-Iseryukon. It is possible, moreover, that classical mythology has preserved the name of another prince of the same period. In Ovid's Metamorphoses, 4:2-12, mention is made of the Babylonian monarch Orchamus, of whom it is said that he was 7th in descent from Belus. Orchamus is not an Assyro-Babylonian name. It actually occurs, however, under the form of Yarkamo on contract tablets which are dated in the reign of Samsoluna.6. Whether it is to be compared with the biblical name of Jeremiel, 1 Chr 2:25, or whether it is a mimated form of the Manaean name of the moon god, I do not know, but its origin must be referred to the dialects of the Arabian tribes on the borders of Babylonia, and not to the Assyrian language itself. In any case, the name is found on documents of the time of Hammurabi, and consequently it is by no means impossible that the myth repeated by Ovid may have incorporated the name of a real king. We must not forget that the passage I have quoted from the astrological tablet associates the invasion of Babylonia by the Manda with the departure of the god Bel to Elam. Now about BC 2285, or just before the date assigned by the compiler of the dynastic tablet to the accession of Hammurabi, the goddess Nana of Erech was carried to Elam by the Elamite king Cuturnankhundi. See Records of the Past, New Series, page 10. A mutilated text, W.I. 3:38, number 2, couples Cuturnankhundi with the otherwise unknown Babylonian kings, Bel Sumedina and Bel Nadanaki, but it is probably a later Cuturnankhundi to whom reference is here made. What is certain is that, as the contemporaneous contract tablets inform us, Hammurabi made himself master of Babylonia by the overthrow of Rim-Sin of southern Chaldea and his ally, the king of Elam. It was this event which made Babylonia a homogeneous kingdom, and so constituted an era of high importance in the annals of the country. A. H. Sayce. Queen's College, Oxford. September 1890. How do you find this book? Any thoughts about the book or the author? Any suggestion for improvement? Please take a moment to share your thoughts in a comment. If you like it, share it with your friends who might enjoy it as well. Subscribe to keep in touch. Visit CompleteAudiobooks.com for more quality content. Equivalents of the Hebrew letters in the transliteration of Assyrian names mentioned in these volumes. A. L. B. M. G. N. D. S. S. H. E. U. V. P. Z. T. S. K. H. Q. D. H. R. I. Y. S. S. H. K. T. N. B. Those Assyriologists who transcribe by sh use s for. The Assyrian e represents a diphthong as well as. In the introductions and notes W, A, I. Denotes the cuneiform inscriptions of Western Asia, in 5 volumes, published by the trustees of the British Museum. Doubtful words and expressions are followed by a note of interrogation, the preceding words being put into italics where necessary. Lacunae are denoted by asterisks or by the insertion of supplied words between square brackets. Words needed to complete the sense in English, but not expressed in the original, are placed between round brackets. The names of individuals are distinguished from those of deities or localities by being printed in Roman type, the names of deities and localities being in capitals. The Assyrian and Egyptian calendars. The Assyrian calendar. Corresponding months. 1. Nisanu, Nisan. March, April. 2. Aru, Iyar. April, May. 3. Sivanu, Sivan. May, June. 4. Duzu, Tammuz. June, July. 5. Abu, Ub. July, August. 6. Ulyalu, Elul. August, September. 7. Tasritu, Tisri. September, October. 8. Arak Savna, Marchesvan, the 8th month. October, November. 9. Kislevu, Chislev. November, December. 10. Dabitu, Teves. December, January. 11. Sabadu, Sebat. January, February. 12. Adaru, Adar. February, March. 13. Arak Makru, Adar, the intercalary month. Egyptian calendar. Months. Sacred year begins Alexandrine 7 year begins Thoth July 20th August 29th Pauphi August 19th. September 28th Ather September 18th October 28th Koyak October 18th November 27th Tybe November 17th December 27th Mekher December 17th January 26th Faminoth January 16th February 25th Farmuthi February 15th. March 27th Pecons March 17th April 26th Pani April 16th May 26th Apaphi May 16th June 25th Mizor June 15th July 25th The Epigomeny August 24th to 28th. The Precepts of Ptah-Hotep. Introduction. Translated by Philippe Vieri. The most ancient book in the world, the Papyrus Pris, now preserved in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, has furnished us with the text of a treatise. Famous on account of its antiquity, of the glimpse that it gives us into the moral ideas of ancient Egyptian society, and of the difficulties it offers to the translator. I have studied it perseveringly since 1881, and have made it the subject of a philological essay, which I presented to the École de Hautes Études in 1884-85 and published in 1887. In this I gave the history of the manuscript, an account of the labors of my predecessors, a transcription of the hieratic text in hieroglyphic characters, and a translation accompanied by numerous critical observations and an index of the words employed in the papyrus. But I did not intend to offer in it more than a purely philological study. In spite of its dry simplicity, however, the essay met with acceptance, and in the following year Mr. Howard Osgood did me the honor to publish an English translation of it in the Bibliotheca Sacra, October 1888, along with a good commentary and an interesting comparison of the work with the Precepts of Ani. In my turn I now undertake to present my work under another form, not that the translation can be very new, since after so short a lapse of time I could not greatly improve a work on which I have bestowed all my thought and care. 9. But what can be remodeled is the commentary. The philological part of my previous publication can be reduced without inconvenience, as the reader who wishes to study this side of the subject can refer to my essay. On the other hand, the philosophical and historical portion of the commentary will be considerably increased. I shall utilize for this purpose some of the texts which I copied at Thebes in 1886 in the tomb of Rekhmara, who exercised at a later period the same functions as Ptah-Hotep. Both were feudal lords of the Egyptian Empire, nomarchs or prefects, and were specially honored with the royal favor. Rekhmara 10 is called Hesien Neuter Nofer 11, favorite of the good god, Thothmes 3. Ptah-Hotep, who dates his treatise in the reign of Asa of the 5th dynasty, boasts at the end of it that he had enjoyed above all others the favor of the king, and in a text published by Lepsius, Denkmäler, 2. 115, we read, Asa Hesi Ptah-Hotep, the favorite of Asa, Ptah-Hotep. In the preface of Ptah-Hotep's treatise he even seems to declare that he was of royal descent, for he calls himself, the royal son, firstborn, legitimate, CHV LL 6, 7. But I have elsewhere noticed that this title must not be interpreted too literally. We may ask why the elder and legitimate son of the king never reigned if he lived, and Ptah-Hotep did not die young, since he was already 110 years old 12 when he published his work. We must attribute an extraordinary longevity to Asa if we hold that Ptah-Hotep was his son and died before him. But Prof. Maspero has already shown that we must not give too literal an interpretation to the titles, royal mother, royal wife, royal daughter, and that it was possible to be royal wife by right of birth before being married. Such titles served only to determine the rank occupied by a princess at court in questions of etiquette and precedence. If the appellation royal wife were only an honorary title, we may infer that royal son also might be the same and signify nothing more than prince. In this case, the eldest legitimate son of the king would be equivalent to prince of the blood royal. That such a title can be given to a person not belonging to the royal family is not unexampled even in our own days in the West. All the more could it be given in the East, where the most pompous titles are so easily accumulated. At the court of Egypt, where everything was referred to the king, the source of all honor, it is possible that a claim to nobility consisted in attaching oneself, at all events nominally, to his family, or even in making oneself part of it. The relations of the king enjoyed the highest titles, but even the royal nurses gloried in the suckling which had mingled their blood with Horus. 13. If Rekhmara does not, like Ptah-Hotep, bear the title of royal prince, he was perhaps of even higher rank, since he is called the double of the pharaoh, animated by his spirit, taking his place in his absence, governing all Egypt like him. Addressed by the same titles 14 and saluted like him by the courtiers. We must not be astonished therefore at the royal title given to Ptah-Hotep. The prefect of the capital was next to the king the first person in the kingdom. Although an interval of many centuries separated the two prefects, it is probable that both governed according to the same rules, and that little change had taken place in the social state and ideas of the Egyptian people. Rekhmara, after exercising the viceroyalty in the absence of Thothmes III, insists before all else on the conservative character of his government. 15 The temples, the laws, the principles on which society rested, all remained unshaken. The children of the nobility succeeded their fathers regularly, everything, in short, continued as if the king remained perpetually in his capital, and the same hand had governed Egypt since the mythical age of Horus. All its kings and their ministers were only the images and substitutes of the God who had been the first to reign over the country. The principles of government, like the principles of morality, were of divine origin, nothing could be changed. Ptah-Hotep had asserted this of the past and predicted it of the future. Innovators had no place in Egypt, and their ephemeral success had always been followed by reaction. Let none make innovations, he had said, in the precepts of his father. Let the same precepts form his instruction to his children. 16 Doubtless innovators sometimes made themselves heard by the uninstructed multitude and influenced the public for a moment, but their triumph was momentary. Nothing, then, must be taken away or added, nothing changed in established principles, and whoever found contrary ideas growing up in himself must be careful to root them out. 17 Thus, in order to discover the earliest trace of the struggle between established custom and new ideas, between the conservative and the radical, it is necessary to go back to the oldest book in the world. Thanks to this horror of change in the government and society of ancient Egypt, the documents which relate to the occupations of the prefect Rekhmara doubtless give us sufficient information in regard to the occupations of the prefect Ptah-Hotep. Interesting resemblances, moreover, between certain chapters of the Papyrus Pris and the texts of the tomb of Rekhmara authorize us in making this comparison. These texts depict to us the divan of the Pasha or prefect of Thebes. He sits in the divan, in order to hear the petitions, to give peace to the whole country, dispensing justice without paying attention to bribes, applications, or offerings. And he who has petitioned him has not wept. 18. From early dawn he has been up to listen all day to the petitions of the provinces of the south and the provinces of the north. He has not repelled small or great. The evil done to the poor, the aged, or the afflicted is requited by Horus to its author. 19. There is no inattention in him to the matters about which he has been petitioned. He estimates the poor equally with the rich, appearing as peacemaker. 20. Ptah-Hotep also tells us how the prefect ought to apply himself to fill the office of leader of peace, with what care he ought to hear the explanations offered by the parties to a suit. With what patience lie should try to unravel the truth from obscure statements and useless details. When thou art a leader of peace, listen well to the words of the petitioner. Be not abrupt with him, that would trouble him. Do not say to him, thou hast already said this. Indulgence will encourage him to do that for the sake of which he is come. As for being abrupt with the plaintiff because he describes what happened when the injury was done instead of complaining of the injury itself, let it not be. The way to obtain a clear explanation is to listen with kindness. 21. With the object of maintaining peace among their subordinates by means of justice, one of the chief cares of the prefects was to provide subsistence for the people and to preserve them from want. Every center of population accordingly possessed a laret or assemblage of magazines, where corn, wine, and all sorts of provisions were stored and thoroughly well guarded. No place, in fact, could have been more secure, and we shall see how strictly all access to it was forbidden to the stranger. The word laret appears to mean a well-guarded enclosure. 22. Among the duties which Ptah-Hotep insists upon in his precepts, one of those to which he attaches most importance is that of vigilantly guarding the laret. If, he says, thou art employed at the laret, stand or sit rather than walk about. Determine from the first not to absent thyself even when weariness overtakes thee. Keep an eye on him who enters, declaring that the object of his request is secret. What is consigned to thee is above appreciation, and all contrary argument is to be rejected. He is a God who penetrates into a place where no relaxation, of the rules, is made for the privileged. 23. Amente, overseer and director of the laret, tells us that there was no repose for him, and that he never closed his eyes during the night. 24. The presentation of the seal of the prefect alone could open the door. 25. Thus Rekhmara caused the storehouses to be constantly inspected by officials to whom he deputed his powers. 26. Well guarded as they were, he was constantly on the watch to assure himself that nothing was wanting to their safety. But only himself or his deputy could enter them, for all others the doors were carefully closed, and it was he who consigned the care of them to the guards. 27. The officials were empowered to strike even a delegate of the government who had not presented the seal and produced his authorization to enter. 28. But the prefect did not confine himself to the superintendence of the storehouses. He also saw that they were filled, since on his supervision depended for his subordinates abundance or death. When Egypt had become a conquering, maritime, and commercial power, foreign countries further contributed to the support of the laret. The tombs of Rekhmara and Amente show us the wines of Syria, the essences and woods of Komal imported from afar and passing through the bazaars of Coptos. But it was still the taxes which furnished corn, the most necessary of provisions, and it is probable that under Ptah-Hotep Egypt was engaged solely in filling with it its magazines. The tomb of Rekhmara depicts for us the laborers presenting the agents of the prefect with their crop of wheat, in order that the government might receive its share. They empty their baskets and form a heap, from which the delegate of the treasury measures out the amount due to the state. 29. The tax must have been somewhat heavy. The Bible tells us that Joseph took from the agricultural population the fifth part of their grain to store the larets in view of a famine, Gen 47. 24. In any case the taxpayers who came so humbly before Rekhmara, with their faces to the ground, must in reality have been less submissive than they appeared to be through fear of the stick. Even Ptah-Hotep mistrusted the tendency to revolt which might lie hid under such forced humility, and it was not enough for him that the taxpayer should put on a submissive air when paying his tax, it was necessary that his manner should be gay. Let thy countenance be cheerful, he says, during the time of thy existence. When we see one leaving the storehouse who has entered in order to bring his moiety of provisions, with the countenance contracted, it shows that his stomach is empty and that authority is offensive to him. Let not this be thy case. 30. He is continually recalling the services rendered by the government and declaring that it is not sufficient to serve it, it is necessary to love it and cause it to be loved. 31. If there are superiors and inferiors, it is because God has so willed it. 32. All authority, all governors, are entitled to respect. When things are prosperous, the absence of submission to authority may endanger them. 33. The inferior ought to obey blindly and execute all commands without discussing them. 34. However he may act in obeying a superior, his conscience is clear before God. 35. The superior alone is responsible. In return for the submission which it exacts, the government takes care of the wants of the people, it supports and enables them to live. In the tomb of Rekhmara we see the workmen of foreign race presenting themselves before the storehouses with sacks to be filled with grain. 36. Jars of oil, wine, etc., are also distributed among them. In a similar fashion the sons of Jacob came to fill their sacks in the storehouses organized by Joseph. But Ptah-Hotep reminds the great of the earth that their duty is not only to protect in this way those whom God has confided to their authority. He who is placed in front, at the head of a large number of men, must be without reproach, and in spite of his power never forget that there are laws. The forgetfulness of this principle is the cause of revolutions. When the great neglect their duty, why should not the small take their place? 37. It is not of the counsels of the flatterers of today that it is needful to take heed, it is of the judgment of posterity, which renders justice to righteous actions. 38. To appear before it with honor, it is necessary to reverence knowledge and wisdom, to observe in everything a just moderation. 39. Not to abuse one's powers, and to seek to inspire love rather than fear. For God forbids us to terrify the feeble. 40. On the contrary, we are as gods to the inferiors, whose confidence we have known how to gain. 41. The great man should remember that he is only the dispenser of the gifts of God, and if, being of low origin, he has attained to high honor, he must not, as is too often the case, be puffed up by his good fortune, but should consider the new duties which his rank imposes on him. 42. His position makes of him a steward of God, but a responsible steward. For if the inferior has no responsibility in obeying, the superior has in commanding and cannot avoid it. God has imposed different duties according to different stations in life. Thus the inferior who carries the message of a superior to a superior must transmit it faithfully and exactly, even if he thinks that the communication will not be well received. 43. On his side, the superior who sits in the council must declare candidly what he believes best, even in presence of the president, however exalted he may be, and not twist his words so as not to compromise himself. 44. He must only see that he does not deceive himself, since to deliberate in the council is not a pastime. 45. And he must for that end work hard and devote himself to his task. 46. Responsibility and continuous labor is the lot of him who watches over the public weal. In return it is right that he should obtain some compensations. His life is not subject to the discretion of anyone. Within the limits of his conscience he is the master of his own actions, but it is the reward of his labors. Moreover, if the conditions of life differ in this world, it is because God has so willed it. 47. There are of course duties common to all men, at least to all who can read Ptah-Hotep, for his book is addressed to the educated classes. 48. Thus the great must abstain from plundering as the small from thieving. 49. Each must love his household and his wife. 50. Making her happy. 51. Must treat his people well, being recompensed in return by their good will. 52. Must avoid licentiousness. 53. Must listen without anger to a just observation and feel no resentment towards him who has made it. 54. Must shun bad temper and walk in loyalty and frankness. 55. Must exercise his power of criticism in judging himself rather than others. 56. Must speak pleasantly, and refer to that which is bad by showing that it is bad, but without passion. 57. Must argue with courtesy, answering with kindness him who deceives himself, and not be rude to him should he display ignorance. 58. But among all other duties there is one on which the book insists specially: every one should labor to make his son a true gentleman, and not allow the authority given him by God to be weakened. 59. The father ought to command, the son to obey, in order that he may be worthy of governing one day in his turn the children which may be born to him. 60. Good when he obeys and good when he commands, whoever has obeyed has profited, and it is profitable to obey him who has obeyed. The son who accepts the word of his father will attain old age on that account. God wishes us to obey. Disobedience is abhorrent to him. 61. Accordingly the father must display no weakness, a son without principles will bring grief to his parents. 62. On the other hand, when the son is obedient to his father, it is a double joy for both. 63. It is not astonishing that Ptah-Hotep paid so much attention to paternal authority. The family is the foundation of society, and the school of obedience is the family. Docile children will not be turbulent subjects to the prefect. The whole system of morality is practical. Moreover, says Professor Maspero, we must not expect to find in this work deep profundity of conception. Ptah-Hotep does not trouble himself to invent or to draw conclusions. 64. This pleases God. That displeases him. Such is the ordinary argument, at least when the author does not offer, as the sanction of his morality, the hope of a good place for the laborious and docile student. 65. The hope of a long life for the obedient son. 66. And the hope of being faithfully served by his domestics for the good master. 67. The artlessness which we find in these counsels should not make us inattentive to the spirit of refinement which also appears in the writings of Ptah-Hotep. He is not the author of the precepts which he gives. His practical philosophy has been bequeathed to him by his ancestors. 68. But he has put the precepts in verse in order to establish them in the memory of mankind. The poetical form in which he clothes them is intended to preserve them from alteration in the future. 69. The most ancient book in the world is therefore a rhythmic, if not a poetical, work, and we can gather from this to what a height civilization had already attained. Although the author himself recognizes that humanity leaves still much progress to make, and that the learned are in reality only students. 70. This fact alone would suffice to prove that Egyptian society had long since left barbarism behind it. 71. In the reign of Asa when Ptah-Hotep compiled his treatise, as he tells us at its commencement. Text. The Precepts of Ptah-Hotep. Precepts of the Prefect the Feudal Lord. 72. Ptah-Hotep, under the majesty of the King of the South and North, Asa, living eternally forever. I. The Prefect, the Feudal Lord Ptah-Hotep says, O God with the two crocodiles. 73. My Lord, the progress of age changes into senility. Decay falls upon man, and decline takes the place of youth. 74. A vexation weighs upon him every day. Sight fails, the ear becomes deaf, his strength dissolves without ceasing. 75. The mouth is silent, speech fails him, the mind. 76. Decays, remembering not the day before. The whole body. 77. Suffers. That which is good becomes. 78. Evil. Taste completely disappears. Old age makes a man altogether miserable, the nose is stopped up, breathing no more from exhaustion. 79. Standing or sitting there is here a condition, of, 80. Who will cause me to have authority to speak? 81. That I may declare to him the words of those who have heard the counsels of former days. And the counsels heard of the gods, who will give me authority to declare them? 'Cause that it be so and that evil be removed from those that are enlightened, send the double. 82. The majesty of this God says, instruct him in the sayings of former days. It is this which constitutes the merit of the children of the great. All that which makes the soul equal penetrates him who hears it, and that which it says produces no satiety. 2. Beginning of the arrangement of the good saying, 83. Spoken by the noble Lord, the Divine Father, beloved of God, the Son of the King, the firstborn of his race. 84. The Prefect, and, Feudal Lord Ptah-Hotep. So as to instruct the ignorant in the knowledge of the arguments of the good sayings. It is profitable for him who hears them, it is a loss to him who shall transgress them. He says to his son, Be not arrogant because of that which thou knowest, deal with the ignorant as with the learned. For the barriers of art are not closed, no artist being in possession of the perfection to which he should aspire. 85. But, good words are more difficult to find than the emerald. 86. For it is by slaves that is discovered among the rocks of pegmatite. 87. 3. If thou findest a disputant while he is hot. 88. And if he is superior to thee in ability, lower the hands, bend the back, do not get into a passion with him. As he will not let thee destroy his words, it is utterly wrong to interrupt him. That proclaims that thou art incapable of keeping thyself calm, when thou art contradicted. 89. If then thou hast to do with a disputant while he is hot, imitate one who does not stir. 90. Thou hast the advantage over him if thou keepest silence when he is uttering evil words. The better, of the two, is he who is impassive, say the bystanders, and thou art right in the opinion of the great. 4. If 91. Thou findest a disputant while he is hot, do not despise him, because thou art not of the same opinion. 92. Be not angry against him when he is wrong, away with such a thing. He fights against himself. Require him not, further, to flatter thy feelings. 93. Do not amuse thyself with the spectacle which thou hast before thee, it is odious, it is mean, it is the part of a despicable soul, so to do. As soon as thou lettest thyself be moved by thy feelings, combat this desire, as a thing that is reproved by the great. V. If thou hast, as leader, to decide on the conduct of a great number of men, seek the most perfect manner of doing so, that thy own conduct may be without reproach. Justice is great, invariable and assured. It has not been disturbed since the age of Osiris. To throw obstacles in the way of the laws, is to open the way before violence. Shall that which is below gain the upper hand, if the unjust does not attain to the place of justice? 94. Even he who says, I take for myself, of my own free will, 95. But says not, I take by virtue of my authority. 96. The limitations of justice are invariable, such is the instruction which every man receives from his father. 6. Inspire not men with fear, else God will fight against thee, in the same manner. If any one asserts that he lives by such means, God will take away the bread from his mouth. If any one asserts that he enriches himself, thereby, God says, I may take these riches to myself. If any one asserts that he beats others, God will end by reducing him to impotence. Let no one inspire men with fear, this is the will of God. Let one provide sustenance for them, in the lap of peace, it will, then, be that they will freely give what has been torn from them by terror. 7. If thou art among the persons seated, at meat, in the house of a greater man than thyself. 97. Take that which he gives thee, bowing to the ground. 98. Regard that which is placed before thee, but point not at it, regard it not. 99. Frequently. He is a blameworthy person who departs from this rule. Speak not to the great man more than he requires, for one knows not what may be displeasing to him. 100. Speak when he invites thee and thy word will be pleasing. 101. As for the great man who has plenty of means of existence, his conduct is as he himself wishes. He does that which pleases him. If he desires to repose, he realizes his intention. The great man stretching forth his hand does that to which other men do not attain. But, as the means of existence are under the will of God, one cannot rebel against it. 8. If thou art one of those who bring the messages of one great man to another, conform thyself exactly to that wherewith he has charged thee, perform for him the commission as he hath enjoined thee. Beware of altering in speaking the offensive words which one great person addresses to another. He who perverts the truthfulness of his way, in order to repeat only what produces pleasure in the words of every man, great or small, is a detestable person. 9. If thou art an agriculturist, gather the crops. In the field which the great God has given thee, fill not thy mouth in the house of thy neighbors. 102. It is better to make oneself dreaded by the possessor. 103. As for him who, master of his own way of acting, being all-powerful. 104. Seizes the goods of others, like a crocodile in the midst, even, of watchmen, his children are an object of malediction, of scorn and of hatred on account of it. While his father is grievously distressed, and, as for the mother who has borne him, happy is another rather than herself. 105, But, a man becomes a god when he is chief of a tribe which has confidence in following him. X. If thou abasest thyself 106 in obeying a superior, thy conduct is entirely good before God. Knowing who ought to obey and who ought to command, do not lift up thy heart against him. As thou knowest that in him is authority, be respectful towards him as belonging to him. Fortune comes only at her own goodwill, and her caprice only is her law. As for him who, 107 God, who has created his superiority, turns himself from him and he is overthrown. 11. Be active 108 during the time of thy existence, doing more than is commanded. Do not spoil the time of thy activity, he is a blameworthy person who makes a bad use of his moments. Do not lose the daily opportunity of increasing that which thy house possesses. Activity produces riches and riches do not endure when it slackens. 12. If thou art a wise man, bring up a son who shall be pleasing 109 to God. If he conforms his conduct to thy way and occupies himself with thy affairs as is right, do to him all the good thou canst, he is thy son, a person, attached to thee, whom thine own self hath begotten. Separate not thy heart from him. But, if he conducts himself ill and transgresses thy wish, 110 if he rejects all counsel, if his mouth goes according to the evil word, strike him on the mouth in return. 111 Give orders without hesitation to those who do wrong, 112 to him whose temper is turbulent, and he will not deviate from the straight path, and there will be no obstacle to interrupt the way. 13. If thou art employed in the laret, stand or sit rather than walk about. Lay down rules for thyself from the first, not to absent thyself even when weariness overtakes thee. Keep an eye on him who enters announcing that what he asks is secret. 113 What is entrusted to thee 114 is above appreciation and all contrary argument is a matter to be rejected. He is a God who penetrates into a place where no relaxation, of the rules, is made for the privileged. 14. If thou art with people who display for thee an extreme affection, saying, aspiration of my heart, where there is no remedy. That which is said in thy 115 heart, let it be realized by springing up spontaneously. Sovereign Master, I give myself to thy opinion. Thy name is approved without speaking. Thy body is full of vigor 116 Thy face is above thy neighbors. 117 If then thou art accustomed to this excess of flattery, and there be an obstacle to thee in thy desires, then thine impulse is to obey thy passion. 118 But, he who, according to his caprice, his soul is, his body is, 119 While, the man who is, master of, his, soul is superior to those whom God has loaded with his gifts, 120 The man who obeys his passion is under the power of his wife. 15. Declare thy line of conduct without reticence, give thy opinion in the counsel of thy Lord. While there are people who turn back upon their own words, when they speak, so as not to offend him who has put forward a statement, and answer not in this fashion, 121 He is the great man who will recognize the error of another. And when he shall raise his voice to oppose the other 122 about it he will keep silence after what I have said. 123. 16. If thou art a leader, setting forward thy plans 124 according to that which thou decidest, perform perfect actions which posterity may remember, without letting the words prevail, with thee, which multiply flattery. Which, excite pride and produce vanity. 17. If thou art a leader of peace, listen to the discourse of the petitioner. Be not abrupt with him, that would trouble him. Say not to him, thou hast, already, recounted this. Indulgence will encourage him to accomplish the object of his coming. As for being abrupt with the complainant because he described what passed when the injury was done, instead of complaining of the injury itself, 125 Let it not be. The way to obtain a clear explanation is to listen with kindness. 126. 18. If thou desirest to excite respect within the house, thou enterest, for example, the house, of a superior, a friend 127 or any person of consideration, in short, everywhere where thou enterest. Keep thyself from making advances to a woman, for there is nothing good in so doing. There is no prudence in taking part in it, and thousands of men destroy themselves in order to enjoy a moment, brief as a dream, while they gain death, so as to know it. It is a villainous intention, that of a man who, thus, excites himself. If he goes on to carry it out, his mind abandons him. For as for him who is without repugnance for such an act, there is no good sense at all in him. 19. If thou desirest 128 that thy conduct should be good and preserved from all evil, keep thyself from every attack of bad humor. 129 It is a fatal malady which leads to discord, and there is no longer any existence for him who gives way to it. 134 It introduces discord between fathers and mothers, as well as between brothers and sisters. 131 It causes the wife and the husband to hate each other. It contains all kinds of wickedness, it embodies all kinds of wrong. 132 When a man has established his just equilibrium and walks in this path, there where he makes his dwelling, there is no room. 133 For bad humor. XX. Be not of an irritable temper as regards that which happens beside thee. 134 Grumble not over thy own affairs. Be not of an irritable temper in regard to thy neighbors. Better is a compliment to that which displeases than rudeness. It is wrong to get into a passion with one's neighbors, to be no longer master of one's words. 135 When there is only a little irritation, one creates for oneself an affliction for the time when one will again be cool. 136. XXI. If thou art wise, look after thy house, love thy wife without alloy. Fill her stomach, clothe her back, these are the cares, to be bestowed, on her person. Caress her. 137 Fulfill her desires during the time of her existence, it is a kindness which does honor to its possessor. Be not brutal. Tact will influence her better than violence. Her, behold to what she aspires, at what she aims, what she regards. It is that which fixes her in thy house. If thou repellest her, it is an abyss. Open thy arms, for her. Respondent, to her arms, call her, display to her. 138 Thy love. XXI. Treat 139 Thy dependents well, in so far as it belongs to thee, to do so, and it belongs to those whom God has favored. If any one fails in treating his dependents well, it is said, he is a person, as we do not know the events which may happen tomorrow, he is a wise person by whom one is well treated. 140 When there comes the necessity of showing zeal, it will, then, be the dependents, themselves, who say, come on, it good treatment has not quitted the place, if it has quitted it, the dependents are defaulters. XCI. Do not repeat any extravagance of language, do not listen to it, it is a thing which has escaped from a hasty mouth. If it is repeated, look, without hearing it, towards the earth, say nothing in regard to it. Cause him who speaks to thee to know what is just, even him who provokes to injustice. 141 Cause that, which is just, to be done, cause it to triumph. As for that which is hateful according to the law, condemn it by unveiling it. 142. Ziv. If thou art a wise man, sitting in the counsel of thy Lord, direct thy thought towards that which is wise. Be silent rather than scatter thy words. When thou speakest, know that which can be brought against thee. To speak in the council is an art, and speech is criticized more than any other labor, it is contradiction which puts it to the proof. 143. XXV. If thou art powerful, respect knowledge and calmness of language. Command only to direct. To be absolute is to run into evil. Let 144 Not thy heart be haughty, neither let it be mean. Do not let thy orders remain unsaid and cause thy answers to penetrate, but speak without heat, assume a serious countenance. As for the vivacity of an ardent heart, temper it, the gentle man penetrates all obstacles. He who agitates himself all the day long has not a good moment, and he who amuses himself all the day long keeps not his fortune. Aim at fullness like pilots. 145 Once one is seated another works, and seeks to obey, one's, orders. XXVI. Disturb not a great man. 146 Weaken not the attention of him who is occupied. 147 His care is to embrace, his task, and he strips his person through the love which he puts into it. That transports men to God, even, the love for the work which they accomplish. Compose, then thy face. Even, in trouble, that peace may be with thee, when agitation is with. These are the people who succeed in what they desire. 148. XXVI. Teach, others, to render homage to a great man. 149 If thou gatherest the crop for him among men. 150 Cause it to return fully to its owner, at whose hands is thy subsistence. But, the gift of affection is worth more than the provisions. 151 With which thy back is covered. For that which, the great man, receives from thee will enable thy house to live, without speaking of the maintenance thou enjoyest, which thou desirest to preserve. 152 It is thereby, that, he extends a beneficent hand, and that in thy home good things are added to good things. 153 Let thy love pass into the heart of those who love thee, cause those about thee to be loving and obedient. 18 If 154 Thou art a son of the guardians deputed to watch over the public tranquility, execute, thy commission, without knowing, its meaning, and speak with firmness. 155 Substitute not for that which the instructor has said, what thou believest to be, his intention, the great use words as it suits, them. 156 Thy part is to transmit rather than to comment upon. Zix. If thou art annoyed at a thing. 157 If thou art tormented by someone who is acting within his right, get out of his sight, and remember him no more. 158 When he has ceased to address thee. XXX. If thou hast become great after having been little, if thou hast become rich after having been poor, when thou art at the head of the city, know. 159 How not to take advantage of the fact that thou hast reached the first rank. Harden not thy heart because of thy elevation, thou art become only the steward of the good things of God. 160 Put not behind thee the neighbor. 161 Who is like unto thee, be unto him as a companion. XXXI. Bend thy back before thy superior. Thou art attached to the palace of the king, thy house is established in its fortune, and thy profits are as is fitting. Yet a man is annoyed at having an authority above himself. 162 And passes the period of life in being vexed thereat. Although that hurts not thy. 163. Do not plunder. 164 The house of thy neighbors, seize not by force the goods which are beside thee. Exclaim not then against that which thou hearest, and do not feel humiliated. It is necessary to reflect. 165 When one is hindered by it, that the pressure of authority is felt, also, by one's neighbor. XXXI. Do not make, thou knowest that there are obstacles to the water, which comes, to its hinder part, and that there is no trickling of that which is in its bosom. Let it not, after having corrupted his heart. 33. If thou aimest at polished manners, call not him whom thou accostest. Converse with him especially in such a way as not to annoy him. Enter on a discussion with him only after having left him time to saturate his mind with the subject of the conversation. If he lets his ignorance display itself, and if he gives thee an opportunity to disgrace him, treat him with courtesy rather. Proceed not to drive him into a corner, do not, the word to him, answer not in a crushing manner, crush him not, worry him not, in order that in his turn he may not return to the subject, but depart to the profit of thy conversation. 166. Exiv. Let thy countenance be cheerful during the time of thy existence. When we see one departing from the storehouse who has entered in order to bring his share of provision. 167 With his face. 168 Contracted, it shows. 169 That his stomach is empty and that authority is offensive to him. Let not that happen to thee. It is. XXXV. Know those who are faithful to thee when thou art in low estate. Thy merit, then, is worth more than those who did thee honor. Behold that which a man possesses completely. That is of more importance than his high rank. For, this is a matter, which passes, from one to another. The merit of one's son is advantageous to, the father, and that which he really is worth more than the remembrance, of his father's rank. XXXVI. Distinguish the superintendent who directs from the workman, for manual labor is little elevated, the inaction, of the hands, is honorable. If a man is not in the evil way, that which places him, there, is the want of subordination to authority. XVI. If thou takest a wife, do not. Let her be more contented than any of her fellow citizens. She will be attached, to thee, doubly, if her chain is pleasant. 170 Do not repel her, grant that which pleases her, it is to her contentment that she appreciates, thy, direction. 171. XXXVI. If thou hearest those things which I have said to thee, 172 Thy wisdom will be fully advanced. Although they are the means which are suitable for arriving at the 173 and it is that which makes them precious, their memory would recede from the mouth of men. But, thanks to the beauty of their arrangement, in rhythm, all their words will, now, be carried without alteration over this earth eternally. 174 That will create a canvas to be embellished, whereof the great will speak, in order to instruct men in its sayings. 175 After having listened to them, the pupil, will become a master. 176 Even he who shall have properly listened to the sayings because he shall have heard them. Let him win success by placing himself in the first rank. 177, that is for him a position perfect and durable. 178 And he has nothing, further, to desire forever. 179 By knowledge his path, is assured, and he is made happy by it on the earth. The wise man is satiated by knowledge, he is a great man through his own merits. 180 His tongue is in accord with his mind. 181, just are. 182 His lips when he speaks, his eyes when he gazes, his ears when he hears. The advantage of his son is to do that which is just without deceiving himself. XX. To attend, therefore, profits the son of him who has attended. To attend. 183 is the result of the fact that one has attended. A teachable auditor is formed, because I have attended. Good when he has attended, good when he speaks. 184 He who has attended has profited, and it is profitable to attend to him who has attended. To attend is worth more than anything else, for it produces love, the good thing that is twice good. The son who accepts the instruction of his father will grow old on that account. 185. What God loves is that one should attend. If one attends not, it is abhorrent to God. The heart makes itself its own master when it attends and when it does not attend, but, if it attends, then his heart is a beneficent master to a man. 186 In attending to instruction, a man loves what he attends to, and to do that which is prescribed is pleasant. When a son attends to his father, it is a twofold joy, for both. When, wise, things are prescribed to him, the son is gentle towards his master. Attending to him who has attended when such things have been prescribed to him, he engraves upon his heart that which is approved by his father. And the recollection of it is preserved in the mouth of the living who exist upon this earth. XL. When a son receives the instruction of his father, there is no error in all his plans. Train thy son to be a teachable man whose wisdom. 187 is agreeable to the great. Let him direct his mouth. 188 According to that which has been said to him, in the docility of a son is discovered his wisdom. His conduct is perfect, while error carries away the unteachable. 189 Tomorrow knowledge will support him, while the ignorant will be destroyed. XLI. As for the man without experience who listens not, he affects nothing whatsoever. He sees knowledge in ignorance, profit in loss, he commits all kinds of error, always accordingly choosing the contrary of what is praiseworthy. He lives on that which is mortal, in this fashion. His food are evil words whereat he is filled with astonishment. That which the great know to be mortal he lives upon every day, flying from that which would be profitable to him. 190 Because of the multitude of errors which present themselves before him every day. XLI. A son who attends is like a follower of Horus, he is happy after having attended. He becomes great, he arrives at dignity, he gives the same lesson to his children. Let none innovate upon the precepts of his father. Let the same precepts form his lessons to his children. Verily, will his children say to him, to accomplish 191 what thou sayest works marvels. Cause, therefore, that to flourish which is just, in order to nourish thy children, with it. If the teachers allow themselves to be led towards evil principles, verily the people who understand them not will speak accordingly. 192 And that being said to those who are docile, they will act accordingly. Then all the world considers them, as masters, and they inspire confidence in the public, but their glory endures not so long as would please them. Take not away, then, a word, from the ancient teaching, and add one not. Put not one thing in place of another, beware of uncovering the rebellious ideas, which arise 193 in thee, but teach according to the words of the wise. Attend, if thou wishest to dwell in the mouth of those who shall attend to thy words, when thou hast entered upon the office of master, that thy words may be upon our lips, and that there may be a chair from which to deliver thy arguments. 194. XLI. Let thy thoughts be abundant, but, let thy mouth be under restraint, and thou shalt argue with the great. Put thyself in unison with the ways of thy master. Cause him to say, he is my son, so that 195 those who shall hear it shall say, praise be to her who has borne him to him. Apply thyself while thou speakest, speak, only, of perfect things. And let the great who shall hear thee say, twice good, is, that which issues from his mouth. Slive. Do that which thy master bids thee. Twice good is the precept of our 196 Father, from whom we have issued, from his flesh. What he tells us, let it be, fixed in our heart, to satisfy him greatly. Let us do for him more than he has prescribed. Verily a good son is one of the gifts of God, a son, who does, even, better than he has been told, to do. 197 For his master he does what is satisfactory, putting himself with all his heart on the part, of right. 198. So 199 I shall bring it about that thy body shall be healthful, that the king shall be satisfied, with thee, in all circumstances, and that thou shalt obtain years of life without default. It has caused me on earth to obtain 110 years of life, along with the gift of the favor of the king among the first of those whom their works have ennobled, 200 satisfying the king in a place of dignity. Colophon. It is finished, from its beginning to its end, according to that which is found in writing. The daughter of the prince of Bakhtan and the spirit that possessed her. Introduction. Translated by Prof. Maspero. The monument which has preserved for us this curious narrative is a stele discovered by Champollion in the temple of Khonsu at Thebes, and removed from thence in 1886 by Pris d'Avens, by whom it was given to the Bibliothèque Nationale at Paris. The text has been published by Pris d'Avens, Choix de Monuments Egyptiens, Paris, 1847, and Champollion, Monuments de l'Égypte et de la Nubie, Paris, 1846-76, Volume 2. Pages 280-90. And translated by Birch, Notes upon an Egyptian inscription in the Bibliothèque Impériale of Paris, in the Transactions of the Royal Society of Literature, 4. New Series, N.E. De Rouge, Études sur un style égyptien appartenant à la Bibliothèque Impériale, in the Journal Asiatique, August 185-6, August 1857, June and August 1858. Champollion had already studied the text and has cited many phrases from it in his works. It was sumptuously reproduced on a single sheet at the Imperial Printing Press for the Paris Exhibition of 1855 under the superintendence of E. de Rouge. Little has been added by later works to de Rouge's results. Translations of it have been given by Bruch in his History of Egypt, English translation, 2d edit, 2. Pages 191-4, and by Maspero in his Contes Egyptiens, 2. Pages 209-224. The narrative presents the appearance of an official document. The Ramses recorded in it was believed to be the 12th of the name who belonged to the 20th dynasty, and efforts were made to discover the country of Bakhtan in the map. The account begins with a royal protocol in the name of a sovereign who has the same names and praenomina as Ramses II or Sesostris. Next come dates which follow a definite order throughout the text. The details of the cult of the deity and of the pharaonic ceremonial are described with scrupulous exactitude. The whole possesses such a character of probability that the inscription was considered historical until quite recently. Prof. Ehrman, however, has shown with much sagacity that we must recognize in it a pure fiction invented by the priests of Khonsu in order to heighten the glory of the god and the importance of his temple. C.A. Ehrman, Die Bentrachstil in the Zeitschrift für Ägyptische Sprache, 1883, pages 53-60. Professor Ehrman has made it clear that the forgers intended to assign the narrative to the reign of Ramses II, and has thus relieved us from an imaginary pharaoh. He has brought the redaction of the story down to the Ptolemaic period, but I believe that I can attribute it to the earlier days of the Ethiopian invasions, when the high priest of Ammon was about to fall. And the great priesthoods which still existed at Thebes were to endeavor by all the means in their power to inherit the influence which the fallen priesthood had exercised. The narrative refers to a belief which is common in popular literature: a spirit has entered the body of a princess and struggles against the exorcists who have been commissioned to expel it, consenting to depart only on certain conditions. The story furnishes us with the simplest and most ancient form of the belief. A modern Egyptologist has adopted it as the subject of a novelette. H. Brugsch, des Priestersreich, ein historisch beglaubigt Erzählung aus der ägyptischen Geschichte des 12. Jahrhunderts vor Christus, in the Deutsche Review, v. pages 15-41. Prof. Ehrman has noted in the narrative an affectation of archaism and somewhat serious errors of language. We can understand that the priests of Khonsu have endeavored to imitate the language of the period to which they attributed the monument. We can also understand that they could not be equally successful everywhere in maintaining an archaistic tone, and have thus at times committed errors. The sentences are badly constructed, the expression of ideas is poor, the phrase curt and flat. Moreover, they have assigned to a king of the 19th dynasty methods of government which belonged only to sovereigns of the 20th. Ramses II, devout as he was, would never have considered it necessary to submit to the approval of the gods all the affairs of state. It was the last successors of Ramses III who introduced the custom of consulting the statue of Ammon upon every occasion. With these reservations it may be admitted that the text offers no further difficulties to the interpreter, and with a little attention can be easily translated. Like the story of the two brothers, it can be advantageously placed in the hands of beginners in Egyptian. The stele is surmounted by a tableau in which one of the scenes in the story is enacted before our eyes. On the left, the bark of Khonsu, the good counselor, is carried on the shoulders of 8 porters and is followed by 2 priests reading prayers. The king, standing before it, offers incense to it. On the right, the bark of Khonsu, which regulates the destinies of Thebes, is figured, carried by 4 men only, for it is smaller than the other. The priest who offers incense to it is the prophet of Khonsu who regulates the destinies of Thebes, Khonsu-Hanurunibit. It is probably the return of the second god to Thebes which is thus illustrated: the first Khonsu comes to receive the second, and the priest and king each render equal homage to his divinity. Text. The daughter of the prince of Bakhtan. The Horus, powerful bull, laden with diadems and established as solidly in his kingdoms as the god Atumu. 201 The Horus, the conqueror mighty with the sword and destroyer of the barbarians, the king of the 2 Egypts, Usermari Sotpuriri, son of the sun, Ramses Meamonius, beloved of Amonare, master of Karnak 202 and of the circle of the gods. The lords of Thebes, the good god, the son of Ammon, offspring of Mut, begotten by Harmakhwiti, glorious child of the universal Lord, engendered by the divine husband of his own mother, king of Egypt, prince of the tribes of the desert. The sovereign who governs the barbarians, scarcely issued from his mother's womb, he directed wars and commanded valiantly while still in the egg, like a bull which presses forward, for he is a bull, is this king. A god who issues forth on the day of battles like Montu, who is very valiant like the son of Nut. 203. Now his majesty was in Naharina 204 as was his custom each year, and the princes of every country came bending under the weight of the offerings which they brought to the souls of his majesty. 205 The fortresses brought their tributes, gold, silver, lapis lazuli, mafkate, 206, and all the fragrant woods of Arabia, on their backs and walking in order one behind the other. The prince of Bakhtan sent his tributes and set his eldest daughter at the head of the procession, to salute his majesty and to ask life from him. She was a very beautiful woman, who pleased his majesty more than anything else. Taking her as his chief royal wife he inscribed her with the name of Nofirari, and when he had returned to Egypt he assured to her the treatment of a royal wife. 207. And it came to pass in the 15th year, the 22nd day of the month Pani, when his majesty was at Thebes in the temple Nakhthanitropu 208 chanting the praises of his father Amon-Ra the master of Karnak. During his excellent festival in southern Thebes 209 the favorite residence of the god since the creation. Behold, a message is brought to his majesty, there is there a messenger of the prince of Bakhtan who is come with numerous presents for the royal wife. Conducted before his majesty with his presents, he says, invoking his majesty, Glory to thee, O son of foreign peoples, to thee by whom we live, and when he had uttered his adoration before his majesty, he proceeds to speak to his majesty, I come to thee, sire, my master, concerning Bintrashet 210 the younger sister of thyself and the royal wife Nofirari, for a malady penetrates her limbs. Let thy majesty order a sage to set forth to see her. Then the king said, Bring me the scribes of the double house of life who are attached to the palace. When they were come, his majesty said, Behold, I have summoned you in order that you may hear these words. Bring me one of yourselves who is expert in his heart, a scribe skillful with his fingers. When the royal scribe Thothimabai had entered the presence of his majesty commanded him to betake himself to Bakhtan with this messenger. As soon as the sage had arrived in Bakhtan he found Bintrashet possessed of a demon, and he found the demon who possessed her difficult to combat. The prince of Bakhtan thereupon sent a second message to his majesty, saying, Sire, my master, let thy majesty order a god to be sent to combat the demon. When the messenger reached his majesty in the 23rd year, the first day of the month Pachons, the day of the festival of Ammon, while his majesty was at Thebes, behold, his majesty spoke again in the presence of Khonsu in Thebes, the god of good counsel, saying, Excellent Lord, behold me again before thee, concerning the daughter of the prince of Bakhtan. 211 Then Khonsu in Thebes, the god of good counsel, was transported towards Khonsu who governs destiny, the great god who drives away strangers, and his majesty said before the face of Khonsu in Thebes, the god of good counsel, Excellent Lord, if it pleases thee to turn thy face to Khonsu who governs destiny, the great god who drives away strangers, he will be sent to Bakhtan. And the god twice decidedly nodded assent with the head. 212 Then his majesty said, Grant unto him thy virtue so that I may send the majesty of this god to Bakhtan in order to deliver the daughter of the prince of Bakhtan. And Khonsu in Thebes, the god of good counsel, violently nodded assent twice and transmitted his magical virtue to Khonsu who governs destiny in Thebes, 4 times. 213 His majesty ordered Khonsu who governs destiny in Thebes to be dispatched on a great bark, escorted by 5 boats, by chariots, and by numerous horses which walked on the right and on the left. When the god had arrived in Bakhtan, after an interval of a year and 5 months, behold, the prince of Bakhtan came with his soldiers and his generals before Khonsu who governs destiny, and flung himself on his face, saying, Thou comest to us. Thou rejoinest us according to the orders of the king of the 2 Egypts, Usermari Satpuanairi. Behold, as soon as the god was gone to the place where Bintrashet was and had made magical passes over the daughter of the prince of Bakhtan, she found herself well at once. And the demon which was with her said in the presence of Khonsu who governs destiny in Thebes, Come in peace, great god who drivest away the foreigner. Bakhtan is thy city, its people are thy slaves, and I myself am thy slave. I shall depart therefore to the place from whence I am come, in order to satisfy thy heart concerning the matter which brings thee, but let thy majesty order a day of festival to be celebrated for me and for the prince of Bakhtan. The god made his prophet a sign of approval with the head, meaning to say, let the prince of Bakhtan present a great offering to this demon. Now while this was taking place between Khonsu who governs destiny in Thebes and the demon, the prince of Bakhtan was there with his army stricken with terror. And when a great offering had been presented to Khonsu who governs destiny in Thebes and to the demon of the prince of Bakhtan, and a day of festival had been celebrated in their honor, the demon departed in peace to the place which pleased him. According to the order of Khonsu who governs destiny in Thebes. The prince of Bakhtan rejoiced greatly as well as the people of Bakhtan, and he discoursed with his heart saying, Since this god has been given to Bakhtan I shall not send him back to Egypt. Now after the god had remained 3 years and 9 months in Bakhtan, as the prince of Bakhtan was lying on his bed, he saw in a dream the god leaving his shrine in the form of a golden hawk which flew on high towards Egypt. When he awoke he was in a shiver. Then he said to the prophet of Khonsu who governs destiny in Thebes, This god who dwelt with us, he returns to Egypt, let his chariot go to Egypt. The prince of Bakhtan allowed the god to start for Egypt, and he gave him numerous presents of all good things as well as a strong escort of soldiers and horses. When they reached Thebes, Khonsu who governs destiny in Thebes entered the temple of Khonsu in Thebes the good counselor. He set the presents which the prince of Bakhtan had given him before Khonsu in Thebes, the good counselor, he kept nothing for his own temple. Now Khonsu, the good counselor in Thebes, re-entered his temple in peace the 19th day of the month Mekher, the 33d year of the king Usermari Satpuaniri, living forever like the sun. Hymn to the Nile. Introduction. Translated by Paul Gaius. The Hymn to the Nile is, properly speaking, not a religious document like those, for example, of the funerary ritual, whose history can be followed from century to century. But a religious poem in the same sense as that in which the poem of Pentor is a historical poem. It is the work of the scribe Inanna, the author of the story of the two brothers and of several other fragments contained in the papyri of the British Museum. We possess 2 copies of it in the papyri Salyer II and Anastasi VII. Both texts, however, are extremely poor. Prof. Maspero was the first to translate them in 1868-214 and to show from an examination of the variant readings that they must have been transcribed from dictation by pupils in the schools of the scribes, though not from the same original text. The translation of Professor Maspero has often been reproduced in works on Egypt, and Canon Cook has given a translation which differs from it but little. 215 in the present translation notice has been taken, as far as possible, of the recent progress of Egyptological knowledge. It will appear with a complete transcription of the 2 texts in the Recueil de Travaux Relatifs à l'Égyptologie. 216. The text of the hymn is divided into 14 verses, introduced by red letters, and each, with 2 exceptions, containing the same number of complete phrases, separated from one another by red points. Unfortunately we are still ignorant of the rules of Egyptian poetry. But as the variant readings show that the number of syllables in one and the same sentence is not the same in the different texts, it is probable that the tonic accent played a chief part in it. We find, however, that the order of the words is clearly not the same as in ordinary prose. 217. The author has developed the idea, well known even to classical antiquity, that the Nile is the source of all life in Egypt, that it is the supreme God, mysterious, uncreated, the father of the gods and all things else, into whose secrets none can penetrate. He describes in a lofty style the benefits conferred by the Nile when it spreads its waters over the country at its annual return, and the miseries of the land when the inundation has not exercised its fertilizing influence, as well as the joy of the inhabitants of Egypt and their gratitude when the Nile has answered their prayers. Text. Hymn to the Nile. I. Adoration to the Nile. Hail to thee, O Nile! Who manifesteth thyself over this land, and comest to give life to Egypt. Mysterious is thy issuing forth from the darkness, on this day whereon it is celebrated, watering the orchards created by Ra 218, to cause all the cattle to live. Thou givest the earth to drink, inexhaustible one, path that descendest from the sky. 219. Loving the bread of Seb and the firstfruits of Nepera. Thou causest the workshops of Ptah-Hotep to prosper. 2. Lord of the fish, during the inundation. No bird alights on the crops. Thou createst the corn, thou bringest forth the barley. Assuring perpetuity to the temples. 221. If thou ceasest thy toil and thy work, then all that exists is in anguish. If the gods suffer in heaven. 222. Then the faces of men waste away. 3. Then he torments the flocks of Egypt, and great and small are in agony. But all is changed for mankind when he comes. He is endowed with the qualities of number. 223. If he shines, the earth is joyous. Every stomach is full of rejoicing. Every spine is happy. Every jawbone crushes its food. 4. He brings the offerings. 224 as chief of provisioning. He is the creator of all good things. As master of energy, full of sweetness in his choice. If offerings are made, it is thanks to him. He brings forth the herbage for the flocks. 225. And sees that each god receives his sacrifices. All that depends on him is a precious incense. He spreads himself over Egypt, filling the granaries, renewing the marts, watching over the goods of the unhappy. He is prosperous to the height of all desires, without fatiguing himself therefore. He brings again his lordly bark. He is not sculptured in stone, in the statues crowned with the Uriah serpent, he cannot be contemplated. No servitors has he, no bearers of offerings. He is not enticed by incantations. None knows the place where he dwells. None discovers his retreat by the power of a written spell. 226. 6. No dwelling is there which may contain thee. None penetrates within thy heart. Thy young men, thy children applaud thee, and render unto thee royal homage. Stable are thy decrees for Egypt. 227. Before thy servants of the north. 228. He stanches the water from all eyes, and watches over the increase of his good things. 7. Where misery existed, joy manifests itself. All beasts rejoice. The children of Sebek, the sons of Neat. 229. The cycle of the gods which dwells in him, are prosperous. No more reservoirs for watering the fields. He makes mankind valiant, enriching some, bestowing his love on others. None commands at the same time as himself. He creates the offerings without the aid of Neat. 230. Making mankind for himself with multiform care. 8. He shines when he issues forth from the darkness, to cause his flocks to prosper. It is his force that gives existence to all things. Nothing remains hidden for him. Let men clothe themselves to fill his gardens. He watches over his works, producing the inundation during the night. 231. It is a god. Ptah. 232. He causes all his servants to exist. All writings and divine words. 233. And that which he needs in the north. 9. It is with the words that he penetrates into his dwelling. He issues forth at his pleasure through the magic spells. 234. Thy unkindness brings destruction to the fish. It is then that prayer is made for the annual water of the season. Southern Egypt is seen in the same state as the north. Each one is with his instruments of labor, none remains behind his companions. None clothes himself with garments. The children of the noble put aside their ornaments. The night remains silent. But all is changed by the inundation. It is a healing balm for all mankind. X. Establisher of justice. Mankind desires thee, supplicating thee to answer their prayers. Thou answerest them by the inundation. Men offer the firstfruits of corn. All the gods adore thee. The birds descend not on the soil. It is believed that with thy hand of gold, thou makest bricks of silver. But we are not nourished on lapis lazuli. Corn alone gives vigor. 235. 11. A festal song is raised for thee on the harp, with the accompaniment of the hand. 236. Thy young men and thy children acclaim thee, and prepare their long exercises. Thou art the august ornament of the earth, letting thy bark advance before men, lifting up the heart of women in labor, and loving the multitude of the flocks. 12. When thou shinest in the royal city. 237. The rich man is sated with good things. The poor man even disdains the lotus. All that is produced is of the choicest. All the plants exist for thy children. If thou hast refused to grant nourishment, the dwelling is silent, devoid of all that is good. The country falls exhausted. 13. O inundation of the Nile! Offerings are made unto thee. Oxen are immolated to thee. Great festivals are instituted for thee. Birds are sacrificed to thee. Gazelles are taken for thee in the mountain. Pure flames are prepared for thee. 238. Sacrifice is made to every god as it is made to the Nile. 239. The Nile has made its retreats in southern Egypt. Its name is not known beyond the Tual. 240. The god manifests not his forms. He baffles all conception. 14. Men exalt him like the cycle of the gods. They dread him who creates the heat. Even him who has made his son. 241. The universal master, in order to give prosperity to Egypt. Come, and prosper. Come, and prosper. O Nile, come, and prosper. O thou who makest men to live through his flocks. 242. And his flocks through his orchards. Come, and prosper, come. O Nile, come, and prosper. This work has been successfully finished and dedicated to the scribe of the treasury Kakabou, by the scribe Inanna. 243. Letters to Egypt from Babylonia, Assyria, and Syria, in the 15th century BC. Introduction. Translated by the editor. An account has already been given in these volumes of the recent discovery of cuneiform tablets at Tel El Amarna in Upper Egypt, which proved to contain official correspondence addressed to the Egyptian monarchs of the 18th dynasty, Amenophis III and his son, Amenophis IV, Kuenaden, the heretic king, Records of the Past, New Ser. Volume 2. Pages 57 square. One statement, however, in that account requires correction, in view of the letters from the king of Mitanni, which have now been published. Queen Tai, the mother of Amenophis IV, was not the daughter of Duisrata or Dusrata, the Mitannian king. The daughter of the latter prince was Tidukapa, the wife of Amenophis IV. We are still in the dark as to the parentage of Tai, and Prof. Maspero may be right in considering her to be of Egyptian origin, possibly even a sister of Amenophis III. In the following pages I have given translations of the most important letters, from a historical point of view, which have yet been published. They are mostly to be found in the magnificent publication of Messrs. Winkler and Abel, entitled Mitteilungen aus den Orientalischen Sammlungen, Berlin, Spiemann, 1889-1890, of which two parts have appeared containing the texts of a considerable number of the Tel El Amarna tablets at Berlin and Cairo. The promptitude and carefulness with which they have been edited contrasts favorably with the tardiness of the authorities of the British Museum in putting the collection of Tel El Amarna tablets that exists there at the service of scholars. Of the 81 tablets now in the British Museum, 4 only have been published, by Mr. Budge in the Proceedings of the Society of Biblical Archaeology, June 1888. A few passages in the letters have been translated by Dr. Winkler in his Bericht über die Thontafellen von Tel El Amarna in the Sitzungsbericht of the Berlin Academy, 1888, number 23, and Dr. Zimmern has translated 4 of the texts in the Zeitschrift für Assyriologie, v. 1890. 3 of these are the same as numbers 2, 3, and 10 translated by myself in the following pages. An unexpected light is cast by these letters on the literary education and intercourse which prevailed throughout the ancient civilized world from the Euphrates to the Nile in the century before the Exodus. The government of Egypt extended as far as northern Syria, its political influence as far as the frontiers of Assyria. But the culture of Western Asia had its primitive home in Babylonia. It was the language and complicated script of Chaldea which were taught and studied in the distant countries of the West, and which the educated gentleman was required to learn. Egypt exported gold from the mines which had been opened in the desert, and were worked by convicts and the captives taken in the Asiatic campaigns of the 18th dynasty. These Asiatic campaigns, however, had tended to Semitize the governing class in Egypt. The king married into the families of Asiatic princes and filled his court with Asiatic officials. Amenophis IV even became a convert to a Semitic faith, and endeavored to substitute a belief in the supreme Semitic Baal, who revealed himself in the fiery orb of the sun, for the old religion of his people. His dominions in Palestine and Syria were placed under governors who bore Semitic names, mostly of a purely Canaanitish stamp. Even the vizier himself has a name which is otherwise not found outside the Bible, although the name of the Carthaginian goddess Dido indicates that it was not unknown to the Phoenicians. This is Dudu, the Dodo of the Old Testament, etymologically related to David. Dudu's two sons, Aziru and Kai, bear names which are equally biblical in their character. The two letters of Aziru to his father show pretty plainly the position occupied by Dudu in the kingdom of the Pharaoh. He alone is addressed like the Pharaoh himself as, my lord, and even his son calls himself his servant. Perhaps, however, the most significant phrase is that which speaks of Dudu and the king my lord and the nobles. We are reminded of what the Pharaoh said to Joseph, only in the throne will I be greater than thou, Gens Lai. 40. The letters of Aziru possess a further interest. They bring the Hittites before us in the act of descending from their old homes in the north upon the fertile plains and cities of the Semites in the south. Kadesh, on the Orontes, has not yet become their southern capital, but they are already threatening Tunip, the Ten-Nib of modern days, to the northwest of Aleppo. A century later, when the civil wars were ended, which the death of Amenophis IV and his attempt to introduce a Semitic religion and a Semitic government into Egypt had occasioned, when the stranger and his faith were driven from the land. And the 19th dynasty was founded by that new king which knew not Joseph, the Hittites were encamped on the northern threshold of Palestine. The Egyptian armies again marched into Asia, but even the power of Ramses II was unable to dislodge them from the post they had gained, and the utmost he could do was to check their southward advance. The chief result of his war was to weaken both Egyptians and Hittites, and to exhaust the cities of Canaan, so that they became an easy prey a few years later to the invading tribes of Israel. Assur-uballit, king of Assyria, whose letter to Amenophis IV I have placed first in my series of translations, is mentioned towards the commencement of the so-called synchronous history of Babylon and Assyria, line 8, as a contemporary of the Babylonian king Carauris. We learn from the letter the name of his father, Assur-nadin-Aki, who must therefore be inserted between Assur-uballit and Busir-assur, see List of the Kings of Assyria, Records of the Past, New Ser, Volume 2. Page 206. Busir-assur, as we learn from the synchronous history, was a contemporary of Bernabarius, another correspondent of Amenophis IV. A third royal correspondent of the Egyptian monarchs was Dusrata or Tusrata or Duisrata, for the name is written in these various ways, the king of Mitanni. According to the Assyrian inscriptions, Mitanni was the district on the eastern bank of the Euphrates which lay opposite to Carchemish. It is called Maiden in the Egyptian inscriptions, and was included in the kingdom of Nerina, the Aram Naharaim, or Aram of the Two Rivers, of Scripture, of which Chushan-Rishathaim was king, Judges 3. 8. It is possible that an obscure passage in one of the letters signifies that the Mitannian prince claimed sovereignty also over Kani Rabbit or eastern Cappadocia. Among the tablets now at Berlin is a long letter from Dusrata, written in cuneiform characters, but in the language of Mitanni, which seems unlike any other hitherto known. We gather from it that the father and predecessor of Dusrata was Sutarna, who is stated in an inscription on an Egyptian scarab to have sent his daughter Kirkipa as a wife to Amenophis III in the 10th year of the latter's reign, along with 317 attendants. Artamas, the grandfather of Dusrata, had also married his daughter to Thothmes IV, so that for 3 generations the rulers of Egypt and Mitanni had been connected by marriage with one another. The people of Mitanni, however, did not speak a Semitic language, and it is probable that they did not belong to the Semitic race. But they had adopted the Semitic adoration of the winged solar disk, and along with it, in all probability, some portion of the Semitic worship of Baal. It was this worship and adoration which Amenophis IV attempted to force upon his subjects. The Semitic tendencies of the court and the dominance of Semitic strangers from Canaan and Syria were due not so much to the intermarriages with the royal family of Mitanni as to the Egyptian conquest of Palestine. 1. Letter of Assyriobulid, king of Assyria, to Amenophis IV, king of Egypt. 1. To Napcuria, Nefer-Kiparare, the great king. 2. The king of Egypt 244 My brother, I write. 3. Thus, even I, Assyriobulid king of the country of Assyria. 4. The great king, thy brother. 5. To thyself, to thy house and thy country may there be peace. 6. That I have seen thy ambassadors. 7. Has pleased me greatly, thy ambassadors. 8. I have sent for to appear in my presence. 9. A chariot, the choicest, in the kingdom with its harness. 10. And 2 white horses, together with 11. One chariot without harness and a seal of white alabaster. 12. I have dispatched as a present for thee. 13. For the great king is produced perpetually. 14. The gold, which, in thy country, is like the dust. 15. That, they collect, why in thy presence? 16. Is it brought and kept back, is it withheld and not sent? 17. All the gold that is my property. 18. As well as what is lacking to it, send. 19. When Osirnadanaki my father. 20. Sent, an embassy, to the country of Egypt, Mitzri. 21. 20 talents of gold did they dispatch to him. 22. When the king of the country of Conirabata 245. 23. To thy father and the land of Egypt. 24. Sent, an embassy, 20 talents of gold. 25. Did they dispatch to him. 26. As, to the king of Rab, body. 27. So, also to myself. 28. Dispatch the gold. 29. The road both in, going and returning. 30. For the hands of my ambassadors. 31. I have made secure. 246. 32. If thou inclinest thy face 247 favorably. 33. Dispatch much gold, and thy letter in return. 34. Write, to me, and what thou desirest let them take. 35. Behold, distant 248 lands. 36. Have the ambassadors visited 249 and they have journeyed to many cities. 37. As for thy ambassadors. 38. They have delayed on the way because the sooty 250. 39. Threatened 251 them with death, until I sent and 40. The sooty took fright. 252. 41. My ambassadors, them. 42. And, they did not delay. 43. When the ambassadors reached the frontier of Assyria. 44. Why do they not wait? 253 and 45. At the frontier they are in a hurry. 254. 46. It is fitting, at the frontier they should wait. 47. For the king, everything is there. 48. And he has established it, and at the frontier. 49. He has arranged it against the king who fulfills everything. 50. There is no charge, why? 51. At the frontier are they in a hurry? 52, even the ambassadors who. The last 3 lines are too obliterated for translation. 2. Letter of Bernabarius, king of Babylonia, to Amenophis IV of Egypt. Obverse. 1. To Nebuchadrezzar king of the country of Egypt. 2. By letter. 3. I speak, even I, Bernabarius king of the country of Kara, Denias 255. 4. Thy brother, unto myself, is peace. 5. To thyself, thy house, thy wives, thy children, thy country. 6. Thy officers, thy horses, and thy chariots, may there ever be peace. 7. Ever since my father and thy father with one another. 8. Conferred in amity. 9. They sent beautiful present, to one another. 10. But they did not address one another in fair, and, beautiful letter, 11. Again, O my brother, 2 manes of gold I have sent as my present. 12. In return send, me, abundance of gold as much as thy father, sent. 13. Or if that is displeasing send half of what thy father, sent. 14. Wherefore shouldst thou send 2 manes of gold, only? 15. For the sake of 256 the folding doors in the temple 257 of Mat and the palace. 16. Which, I have undertaken 258 to build send much gold. 17. And whatsoever thou desirest in my country. 18. Write for and let them take it to thee. 19. In the time of Kurigalza my father the Cuna, Chians, all of them. 20. Sent unto him saying, against the government of the country, 259. 21. Let us sin and rebel. 22. With thee will we make a league. My father. 23. Sent this answer to them. 24. Saying. Reverse. 1. Cease to ask, to ally thyself with me. 2. If thou art estranged from the king of Egypt my brother, and 3. Alliest thyself with another. 4. I will not go and assist 260 you. 5. Thus my father was like-minded with me. 6. Because of thy father he did not listen to them. 7. Again, by an Assyrian who regards, my face 261. 8. Have I not sent to thee after the news, I have, of them, asking. 9. Why they have gone to thy country. 10. If thou lovest me, no success. 11. Will they obtain, dismiss them to their distant land. 12. For a present to thee 3 manes of alabaster. 13. And 14 spans of horses with 5 chariots of wood. 14. I have dispatched to thee. 3. Letter of Bernabarius to Amenophis IV. Obverse. 1. To Nebuchadrezzar. 2. The king of Egypt 262 my brother, it is spoken. 3. Thus, Bernabarius the king of Kara Denias. 4. Thy brother unto myself, is, peace. 5. Unto thee, thy country, thy house, thy wives, thy children. 6. Thy officers, thy horses, and thy chariots. 7. May there ever be peace. 8. I and my brother with one another. 9. Have conferred amicably. 10. And this is what we have said. 11. As follows, as our fathers with one another. 12. We also have friendly dealings. 13. Again my ministers. 14. Who came with Akidabu 263. 15. Into the country of Kanaki 264 trusted to destiny. 16. From Akidabu to visit my brother they passed. 17. In the city of Kikinatuni of the country of Kanaki. 18. Samada the son of Balaam 265. 19. And Sutatna the son of Saradam 266 of the city of Aku 267. 20. When they had sent their men, slew. 21. My ministers and carried off their treasures. 22, which they were taking, for a present to the king of Egypt. 23, I have sent to you, therefore, a complainant 268. 24. Who may speak to thee, thus? Reverse. 1. Kanaki, is, thy country and the king, is thy servant. 2. In thy country I have been injured, do thou punish, the offender. 3. The silver which they carried off, was, a present, for thee. 4. And the men who, are, my servants they have slain. 5. Slay them and requite the blood, of my messengers. 6. But if thou dost not put these men to death. 7. The inhabitants, of the high road that belongs to me will turn. 8. And verily will slay thy ambassadors, and 9. A breach will be made in the agreement, to respect the persons, of ambassadors. 10. And this man 269 will be estranged from thee. 11. One of my men Samada. 12. Having cut off his feet. 13. Detained him with him. 14. And as for another man, Sutatna of Aku. 15. Having made him stand on his head. 16. He stood upon his face. As for these men. 17. One has spoken thus, I have seen indeed. 18. What, thou askest that indeed thou knowest. 19. By way of a sent, Imene of alabaster I have dispatched to thee. 20. By my ambassadors a costly gift I have sent to thee. 21. On account of the port 270 which my brother has heard. 22. My ambassadors do not detain. 23. The costly present let them offer, to thee. 4. Letter from Aziru to his brother Kai. 1. To Kai 271 my brother. 2. Thus, I speak, even I, Aziri 272 thy brother. 3. Unto thee may there be peace. 4. And from the soldiers of the palace. 5. Of the king my lord may there be much peace. 6. What immediately? 7. I speak before the king my lord. 8. Publicly I speak. 9. Even, I and my sons. 10. And my brothers, all, being, servants. 11. Of the king my lord before him. 12. Now I and Kadib. 13. Have gone again. 14. With a present to Kazai 273. 15. Who is, among you? 274 Verily the frontier. 16. Behold. I have reached. 17. From the orders of my lord. 18. I do not free myself. 19. Or from your orders. 20. Even, I the servant of my lord. 21. The king of the land of the Hittites 275 in the country of Nukas 276. 22. Is staying and I am afraid. 23. Of him, and, have defended myself. 24. To Phoenicia he ascends. 25. And if the city of Dunap 277. 26. Falls, he stays in a place, only, 2 parasangs from here. 27. And I am afraid of him. 28. Yet according to this order. 29. He remains until he quits at point 278. 30. And now one has gone. 31. With a costly present to him. 32. Even, I and Kadib. 5. Letter from Aziru to his father Dudu. 1. To Dudu my lord, my father. 2. Thus, speak I, Aziru thy servant. 3. At the feet of my lord I prostrate myself. 4. Kadib has gone. 5. And has answered, the words. 6. Of the king my lord publicly and well. 7. And I have rejoiced exceedingly. 8. And my country and my brothers. 9. The servants of the king my lord. 10. And the servants of Duda my lord. 11. Have rejoiced exceedingly. 12. behold, there has gone. 13, the prince 279 of the king my lord. 14, unto me. From the commands. 15, of my lord, my God, my son God. 16, and from the commands of Dudu. 17, my lord, I do not free myself. 18, now, O my lord, Katib. 19. Remains with me. 20, I and he 280 will go, together. 21, O my lord, the king of the land of the Hittites. 22, has marched into the country of Nukas. 23, but has not prevailed over the cities. 24. May the king of the land of the Hittites quit them. 25, therefore now have, we, marched. 26, even, I and Katib. 27, may the king my lord listen to. 28, my words. O my lord, I am afraid. 29, of the king my lord. 30, and of Dudu. 31. And now my gods. 32, and my messengers also are the men. 33, of Dudu and the nobles. 34, of the king my lord, and I march. 35, and thus, speak, Dudu. 36, and the king my lord and the nobles. 37, if ever we publish anything. 38. About a Zairu which is not right. 39, let it be, before my gods and before my God, 281. 40, and now I. 41, and Katib, are, servants of the king before, him. 42, O Dudu, verily thou knowest. 43, behold, I go to thee. 6. Letter from Ribadur to the king of Egypt. 1, 2, the king my lord. 2, my son God I speak, even I, Rib-Adur 282. 3, thy servant, at the feet of my lord. 4, my son God 7 times 7. 5, do I prostrate myself. The king my lord. 6. Has heard the words of the servant. 7, of his justice. 283, I am, very sick. 284. 8, unto me has hostility approached. 9, the sons of Ebed, Assyria 285 descended. 10, into Phoenicia 286 they 287. 11, and, all of the country of the city of Tsumira 288. 12. And the city of Irkata 289 armed themselves. 13, against the governor, and now in. 14, the city of Tsumira, is there, station. 15, behold, the governor is sick. 16, on account of the attack he has left 290. 17. The city of Gubla, 291 and there are not 292. 18, Zimrida, and 19, Yapadu along with me. 20, now, accordingly, has the governor. 21, sent to them, and 22, they have sent, 30 manes to him. 23, now, has the king my lord heard. 24. The report of the servant of his justice. 25, and has dispatched reinforcements. 26, in haste to. 27, the city of Tsumira to defend, it. 28, and, capture the soldiers. 29, of the palace of the king, the sun god. 30. And the king, the sun god, has supplied 293 me. 31, with the soldiers of the kingdom 294 from. 32, the midst of his own country. A second time. 33, has the king, my lord, heard the report of his servant. 34, and has dispatched 295 the garrison 296. 35. To the city of Tsumira and 36, to the city of Irkata. Since 37, there have fled all. 38, the garrison from. 39, the city of Tsumira, and 40, there has applied, his, ear the king. 41. The Lord, the Sun God of the world, and 42. Has given me 20 convoys. 43. Of horses for myself. 44. And has dispatched reinforcements. 45. In haste. 46. To the city of Tsumuratu. 47. Defend it, even all. 48. The garrison. 49. Who had armed themselves with difficulty. 50. And the men had. 51. In the midst of the city, since. 52. The soldiers of the palace had not. 53. And 54. The said city had not armed itself. 55. On the capture and slaughter of the soldiers of the palace. 56. It is intent. All the world. 57. Have gone 297 to the king. 7. Letters from Dusrata, king of Mitanni, to Amenophis III. Number 1. 1. To Nemuria the great king. 2. The king of Egypt, my brother. 3. My son-in-law, whom I love. 4. And who loves me, speak. 5. Thus, Dusrata, the great king. 6. The king of the country of Mitanni, thy brother, thy father-in-law. 7. And who loves thee. 8. Unto me is peace, unto my brother and unto my son-in-law. 9. May there be peace, to thy houses, to thy wives. 10. To thy sons. 298 To thy men, to thy chariots. 11. To thy horses, to thy country. 12. And to thy property, may there be abundant peace. 13. Of my brother, whom I love. 14. The wife, my daughter, I deliver to him. 15. May the sun god and Ishtar march before, my brother. 16. According to the heart of my brother may they act. 17. And may my brother on this same day. 18. Rejoice, may the sun god and Ishtar. 19. Hear the prayer of my brother. 20. Abundant joy, to my brother. 21. May they give, may they. 22. And may my brother live. 23. Forever in P.C.E. 24. Main, the messenger of, my brother. 25. And Cain, the dragoman 299. 26. Of my brother, like a god 300 thou didst send. 27. Many presents didst thou give them. 28. Thou didst honor them greatly. 29. On account of their letter, counting on their service, 301. 30. The men who really live. 31. If at any time I see not, may my gods. 32. And the gods of my brother protect them. 33. Now necromancy. 34. Whom thou hast seen, to transact business with my brother. 35. I send, and also one necklace. 36. Of crystal and alabaster. 37. And some gold for a present. 38. To my brother I have dispatched. 39. And for 100,000 years. 40. For the service of my brother. 41. May it be used. 302. 8. No. 2. Obverse. 1. To Nim, Moria king of the land of Egypt, my brother, my son-in-law. 2. Whom I love, and who loves me, speak. 3. Thus Dusrata the king of Mitanni, thy father-in-law. 4. Loves thee as thy brother, unto me is peace, unto thee. 5. May there be peace, to thy house, to thy wives, to thy sons, to thy nobles. 6. To thy chariots, to thy horses, to thy officers. 7. To thy country and thy property may there be exceeding abundant peace. 8. Main the ambassador of my brother went to demand a wife for. 9. My brother that he might take her to be queen of Egypt, and the letter 303. 10, which he took I read, and to his message listened. 11. My good heart attentively, and the words of my brother as the person of my brother. 12. I saw and rejoiced on that day very exceedingly. 13. Day and night it produced pleasure. 304. 14. And all the words of my brother which Maine took, to me. 15. I performed in the same 305 year, again the wife of my brother. 16. The queen of Egypt I, and have dispatched to my brother. 17. On that day the countries of Connie, Rabbit 306 and Egypt. 18. And as regards this, Maine will, speak. Before my brother, Jalea 307. 19. And Maine I, presented with, a costly present, but I did not address them. 20. Again, O my brother, for, and for, their, dismissal. 21. But I did not cause them to go up, to Egypt, to, convey my daughter, that she might be the wife of, my, brother. 22. Even now I did not cause them to go up. 23. After 6 months Jalea my ambassador and Maine the ambassador. 24. Of, my brother I dismissed, the wife of my brother, to be queen of Egypt. 25. My daughter, to my brother they brought. May Beltis the lady, of battle. 26. My, goddess, and Ammon 308 the god of my brother according to, his heart. 27. Advised 309, him. 28. His wife, to my brother they brought, and when my brother, had children by her. 29. His son grew up stoutly and also. 30. According to the heart of my brother he became tall, 310 n. 31. Which to give my brother. 32. Above the face. 33. Now Karamasi has spoken, O my brother, a word to, my brother. 34. And a letter 311 into his hand I have given. 35. And his words may, my brother, hear, saying. 36. Thus, Nakara, Masi to my brother I have sent. 37. The soldiers, of, my brother have not made. Lacuna. Reverse. The commencement is lost. 1. Of my brother they have brought. 2. My, ambassador, has collected everything, O, my, brother. 3. Before all of them, and we. 4. Among them, and these seals and the gold. 5. And they regarded, them, very intently. 6. They, considered, these treasures 312 as water, all of them, treasures of gold without, number. 7. And, they said, in the land of Egypt, are, treasures of gold, more than the dust in abundance. 8. My heart, O my brother, now loves thee in rivalry, the men. 9. Whom they love, and yet nothing is given to their backs. 10. There are, quantities of what is needed, quantities more than the dust in Egypt in plenty. 11. As myself, are, these men, to whom is the gift made? 12. And it has no gate, and truly when I, heard of, the treasures. 13. Which lie, before you, I did not question if he loves me very greatly. 14. And, my country, even the king of Egypt. 15. And my brother lifts me up in his heart when my heart was vexed at aught. 16. And he does not fail. At any time, and the great God my Lord does not forsake me. 17. Along with my brother am I not remembered, by thee? And to country and city. 18. Like my brother. 19. Maine the ambassador of my brother, and the dragoman, of my brother who with him. 20. Journeyed, I honored, I spoke to, them and honored them. 21. Exceedingly, now Maine has departed, and my brother. 22. Has exalted him even as I honored him very greatly. 23. To my brother also I spoke, and my brother heard from them how. 24. I had done unto them, when Maine lacked, aught which, is not supplied. 25. To him, he indeed is not vexed. 26. And, O my brother, I have sent much work 313 gold which cannot be counted, and the Akkat. 27. Of my father may my brother return to me, as my brother regards friendship. 28. As my brother before my country, as before my numerous brethren. 29. My brother has caused me greatly to flourish, so may the God Ammon 314 sustain him, and 30. Act forever according to the heart of my brother, and may my brother 31. My beloved one, act according to my heart, like the sun god. 32. Who loves mankind, and like the god Naninu may the gods 33. Direct us, and forever. 34. Let us love one another. 35. And now I send, by way of a present one spear of Ubai wood. 36. And an Isizu of Aleppo 315 stones set in gold. 37. Which, he folds together on his throne. 38. Kulal stone set in gold for a throne. 39. To my brother I have sent. 9. Letter of Disrata to Amenophis 4. Obverse. 1. To Napkuri, ye my son-in-law whom I love and who loves me. 2. Disrata, the great king, the king of Media, Nni, thy brother, thy father-in-law, who loves thee, unto me, is peace. 3. To thee and, Tai, thy mother, and to Dukapa my daughter, thy wife, may there be peace. 4. To, may there be peace. To thy sons, to thy nobles, to thy chariots, to thy horses. 5. To thy country, and to thy property may there be exceeding peace. 6. I sent an embassy to Nemuria, and thy father sent to me. 7. And as regards the message which he sent, there was no word whatsoever which was concealed from 8. The ambassadors of thy father whom he sent to me, and Tai the chief wife of thy father. 9. Thy mother knew them all, he showed them to Tai and favored all of them, and after them. 10. Thy father repeated the words which he had spoken with me. 11. Exceedingly, and the words which I spoke with Nemuria thy father whom we love. 12. And the words which Nemuria thy father spoke with me, he, and I, my heart in nothing. 13. Did they vex, and all the words which I spoke those also on that day. 14. Did not vex the heart of thy father, my beloved one, in anything, and all that. 15. I said, these also did he perform on that day. 16. Now Menachbea 3:16, the father of Emuria sent to Artatama the father of my father, and the daughter of 17. Artatama, the father of my father he asked for, 5 times, 6 times he sends, but Artatama did not give her, at last. 18. His daughter, he sends and with a train of handmaids, he gave her. An embassy from Nemuria thy father to Sut, Tarna 3:17. 19. My father came, and the daughter of my father, my darling sister, though he asked for her and 7 times, requested her. 20. My father did not give. At last 5 times and 6 times he sends and, my father, gave her, with a train of handmaids. 21. When Nemuria, thy father, sent to me and when he asked for my daughter, I did not refuse. 22. But I spoke favorably. To his messenger I speak as follows, I am ready to give her, thy messenger among my children. 23. Has come, and my eyes have seen the Akkadi which he has given, and her dowry is worthy of yourself. 3:18 And I will bestow on her. 24. The dowry due to Nemuria thy father, which contains jewels, such as no god possesses, and because I am honored. 3:19 I do not refuse. 25. To give her. And Amasis 3:20, the ambassador of my brother, who had come, for the bride, I sent, back, to Lemuria. 26, after 3 months, with a very costly present, and 4, of gold, such as, none, had given before. 27. And, a goblet, of gold was given, which I, dispatched. 28, at last my daughter I gave, to him, and when, I had, dispatched her and when Lemuria thy father had seen 321 her. 29. He rejoiced with exceeding fullness, and my brother speaks as follows, in the joy of my heart. 30. I will give her, all her desire, and he caused her to be united publicly with his country 322, and moreover my ambassador. 31. He honored. Like men, when he had seen him, and he honored him, and ever did Lemuria. 32. Place him, in the front rank, and since he honored the embassy, so among the houses which, he gave, to Tidukapa. 33. My daughter, he placed, my, servants, all of them, and he made, them, dwell round about 323 and in the midst of my ambassadors, who entered. 34. His country. There was nothing which Jalea, my ambassador did not obtain. Gold which he gave 1,000-fold in weight. 35. Lemuria gave to, Tadu, Kapa and Tidukapa. 36. Gave to Jalea, whatsoever he desired, and, Jalea, my ambassador did Lemuria in friendship. 37. Exalt and, honor, then, Uriah sent Nisag his ambassador. 38. On account of Tidukapa, my darling sister, and along with, Nisag, he sent slaves to my presence, and, objects of gold. 39. Of gold, of Jalea, and ever. 40. Lemuria, returned my friendship, and, my ambassadors. 41. I, did not send to the slaves. 42. Among the slaves when he sent. 43. He did not dispatch to me, and I dispatched, an object, it had not, and so. 44. Ria, thy father, in all the words, he had, one subject for vexation did not leave. 45. The words, which I speak, all of them, and a wish I do not utter. 46. Knows the truth of, what I speak, and ask thy mother, if among the words which I speak. 47. There is, one word of falsehood, him did Lemuria thy father, honor, and. 48. Lemuria thy father made brotherhood, and league. With me, and Lemuria thy father. 49. Did, not, say, at last the gold which, thou desirest, I have forwarded 324 to the land of Connie Rabbit, and when I went down and. 50. He did not send the gold which, I asked for, to future days, it was left in the keeping of Lemuria. 51. Thy father, and Lemuria said to, my envoy, furniture, and objects of gold, a profusion of everything. 52. Which, my brother has asked for, which was left, here, which, I have agreed to give, and which my father agreed to give, I, now, send to you. 53. And, so Lemuria thy father never changed his word to a non-word. 54. Through what, he said in words never did he cause vexation. 55. Now, they say that Lemuria has died, 325 and what they have said. 56. Has distracted my heart, 326 and I wept on that day. 57. On my throne, I did, not, sit. 327 Bread and water on that day I did not, take, and I was sad. 58. And, I, said, if he is dead, in the land of my beloved, sister, and among my, servants, are the objects, of gold, and. 59. His son will succeed him, and he loves me. Or if he is alive with the God 328 and, we love. 60. One another, and on, that account in our hearts we are, not, distant, from each other. 61. And now to, me the eldest son of Lemuria by Tai his wife. 62. Has made offers of alliance and brotherhood, and has spoken thus, Lemuria is not dead. 63. Since Nabkururi, his eldest son by Tai his chief wife, sits in his place and 64. Will never at all alter his words from their place, but they shall remain, as before. 65. Now to my brother, I say as follows, Ardit, Ama my brother whom we love in our hearts. 66. I have sent to Napcuria, the son of Lemuria his father, whom I honor on account of Tai his mother, who was chief wife. 67. Of Lemuria, and loved him during the reign of his father, in order that she may repeat the words before Napcuria. 68. Even the words of Nimu, Ria her husband, very earnestly, whom we love. 69. Since Lemuria formerly sent an embassy to me, when he dismissed Jalea, and 70. Further, sent Maine, as ambassador, and my brother dispatched objects of wood, and also gold. 71. Saying, that it is not gold and that I have not brought it. 72. Immediately from before the king. 73. Nimu, Ria, my brother forthwith, dispatched the object, which my brother gave to me. 74, saying, take it, since I dig the mines, very laboriously. 75 and I answer, thus, Lemuria my brother the presents. 76. Dispatched to me, which Napcuria my brother, whom I love, has not increased above him. 77. And what he dispatched, and since. 78. And before Maine. I was vexed. 79. 80. The presents, which my brother forwarded and 81. I convened, my nobles, saying, with my brother in friendship. 82. I am united, as his fathers with my fathers in sooth and with his fathers. 83. My fathers, I have received the gifts which my brother has sent and 84. We have rejoiced exceedingly and kept a day of festival. 85. He fixed ourselves, and in the time of night thou thyself. 10. Letter of Dusrata to Amenophis III. Obverse. 1. To Lemuria the great king, the king of Egypt, my brother. 2. My son-in-law, who loves me, and whom I love. 3. It is said as follows, Tisrata, the great king, thy father-in-law. 4. Who loves thee, the king of Mitanni, thy brother. 5. Unto myself, is, peace, unto thee may there be peace, to thy house. 6. To my sister, 329 and to the rest of thy wives, to thy sons. 7. To thy chariots, to thy horses, to thy nobles. 8. To thy country and to thy property may there be abundant peace. 9. Until the time of thy fathers, they with my fathers were in closest. 10. Alliance, 330 since then thou hast perfected 331, it, and with my father. 11. Wert in exceedingly close alliance. 12. Now thou, since, thou, and I love one another. 13. Hast established, it, 10 times more than in my father's time. 14. May the gods direct them, 332 and this our alliance. 15. May Rimmon 333 my lord and Ammonum 334 forever as now. 16. Confirm. 17. And when my brother sent Maine his ambassador. 18. Saying, O my brother, let thy daughter be my wife. 19. And mistress of the land of Egypt, I did not vex the heart 335. 20. Of my brother and spoke publicly according to his wish 336. 21. And her whom my brother asked for I showed to Maine. 22. And he saw her. When he had seen her he much approved 337 of her. 23. And in peace in the country of my brother may I know her. 24. May Ister and Ammonum according to the heart of my brother advise her. 25. Jaliah my messenger reported unto me the words of my brother. 26. When I heard them, it was very good, I rejoiced very. 27. Exceedingly saying, Verily unto me has this favor happened. 338 and 28. Whereas in consequence of the alliance that was between us we loved each other. 29. Now in consequence of these words we shall love each other forever. 30. When I had sent to my brother and had said thus, As for me. 31. Very exceedingly do we love each other, and in alliance. 32. We have been friendly. Then to my brother I said thus, My brother. 33. Has honored me 10 times above my father. 34. And I asked much gold of my brother saying, Above my father. 35. May my brother set me and may my brother send it to me. 36. And to my father didst thou send much gold. 37. An oblation dish of solid gold and a cup 339 of solid gold didst thou send to him. 38. A brick of gold like molten bronze didst thou send to me. 39. I sent Jaliah on an embassy to my brother and much gold. 40. I asked for saying, As for me may my brother. 41. Above my father honor me, and much gold. 42. Which cannot be counted may he send me. Reverse. 1. May my brother send me more than to my father. 2. And then I said thus to my brother, Thy standard. 3. Which my grandfather made saying, As for me, that. 4. It may last I have painted the work red, I have constructed it again for thee. 5. And thereupon I further said, The gold which my brother will send. 6. Let him send for the dowry. 7. Again my brother sends gold, and I say thus. 8. The amount is much, 340 for the supply of the amount is much, and unto the fitting quantity. 9. It reaches, for thus it reaches exactly unto the fitting quantity. 10. And on this account I have rejoiced greatly, and for all. 11. That my brother has sent for this I have rejoiced exceedingly. 12. Now again I send to my brother, and may my brother. 13. Grant me friendship above what he granted to my father. Now. 14. Have I asked gold of my brother, and the gold which of my brother. 15. I have asked, has twice been asked for, 341 once. 16. Because of thy standard and a second time for the dowry. 17. And, O my brother, gold in good earnest which cannot be counted. 18. May my brother send unto me, and may my brother send more gold than he sent, my father. 19. Since in the midst of the country of my brother gold is as plentiful as dust. 20. May the gods reveal 342 it, and as at present in the country. 21. Of my brother gold is plentiful, so 10 times more than at present. 22. May he extract gold. And may the gold, which I have asked for, in the heart of my brother 23. Not cause vexation, and O my loved one, my heart let not my brother. 24. Vex, but let my brother the gold which cannot be counted. 25. In good earnest send unto me. 26. And whatsoever my brother desires let him send for to the house where it is, and 27. Let the messenger go and I will give the present which my brother has asked for. 28. This country is my brother's country, and this house is my brother's house. 29. Now I send my ambassador Jaliah to my brother, and let my brother. 30. Not detain him. Let him dismiss him with a costly present, and let him go. 31. May I rejoice very exceedingly when I hear of my brother's present. 32. May I hear forever of my brother's present. 33. And as for this letter 343 which we have sent may Rimmon 344 my lord. 34. And Ammonim 345 direct them 346 and unto their destination. 35. May they attain, and as things are, at present so may they continue with them. 36. As at present we love one another, so, as at present. 37. For ever may we love one another. 38. Now for a present to my brother, one goblet of gold set with crystals. 39. Around its cup, one heavy necklace of 20 crystal beads, and 19 beads of gold. 40. In its center a crystal amulet, encased in gold. One heavy necklace of 42 Kalala stones. 41. And 40 gold beads, the metal of which is of Ister, in its center an amulet of Kalala stone cased in gold. 42. 10 pairs of horses, 10 chariots of wood, together with their furniture. 43. And 30 eunuchs I have sent for a present to my brother. 11. Letter of Disrata to Amenophis 4. Obverse. 1. To Napkaruriya the king of Egypt. 2. My brother, my son-in-law, who loves me. 3. And, whom I love, it is said. 4. As follows, Disrata, king of the country of Mitanni. 5. Thy father-in-law, who loves thee, speaks thus. 6. Unto myself, is, peace, unto thee may there be peace. 7. Unto thy houses, tie thy mother, and the land of Egypt. 8. To Tadukapa my daughter, thy wife. 9. To the rest of thy wives, to thy sons, to thy soldiers. 10. And thy chariots, to thy horses, to thy men. 11. To thy country and to all that thou hast, may there be very abundant peace. 12. Perizzi and Pupri my ambassadors. 13. I have sent to my brother to explain, and 14. Have addressed them with great trouble and earnestness. 15. And I have sent them in a body, 347. 16. And this speech beforehand. 17. I make to my brother, Main, thy ambassador. 18. I detain, and Amitu my messenger. 19. I will dismiss, and the prophet 348 shall go, to thee. 20. And now my brother to, their own land. 21. Has not permitted them to go, but has detained them. 22. Overmuch. Wherefore has he not? 23. Protected the ambassadors. They have fled, and, there is, guilt. 24. On my brother in respect of the ambassadors. Why is his heart? 25. Angered. Why has he spoken, before the face of? 26. Pup, are you has not returned and he has spoken? 27. His offers of alliance he does not listen to. 28. Yet I, O son-in-law, am, verily thy father-in-law. Lacuna. Last paragraph. 1. And as regards the frequent intercourse which with thy father. 2. I had tie thy mother knows the facts. 3. No one else knows the facts. 4. But after tie thy mother thou knowest them, and 5. What he said to thee. As thy father with me. 6. Was friendly, so now, O my brother again. 7. With me thou art friendly, and what, is, contrary thereto no one. 8. O my brother, listens to. Ancient Babylonian Agricultural Precepts. Introduction. Translated by G. Bakhtan. The tablet which contains the agricultural precepts is one of the series called by the Babylonians, from the first line of the first tablet, Yuludnabaisu equals Ana Idisu 349 formerly read Kikankalabisu equals Ana Idisu. This collection, which must have contained at least 10 or 12 tablets, was a compendium of precepts and prescriptions written at an early date in Akkadian for the guidance of the people in their various professions. 350 The work, as we know it from the fragments in the British Museum, is accompanied with a Babylonian translation, probably of the time of Sargon of Agade. And the fragments recovered are those of a Ninevite transcription made in the time of Assurbanipal for his library. The tablets are divided into two columns, the left-hand one giving the Akkadian and the right-hand one the translation. The first 6 tablets and part of the 7th contained what may be called the commentary, that is, the list of the most difficult words and expressions, with explanations or translations. The notion, strange at first sight, of beginning with the commentary, appears natural when we bear in mind that these works were the textbooks of the Babylonians, which they had to copy in order to master their complicated system of writing and the literary Akkadian language 351. The textbook therefore began, as in our reading books for children, with simple expressions or isolated words. The learner having acquired these, next undertook and understood without difficulty the connected text. These tablets contained no laws, as has been sometimes stated, but precepts drawn, perhaps by a philosopher like Confucius or Mencius, from the customs and usages of the time. The 7th tablet contained precepts for a man in his private life. 352 The agricultural precepts covered no doubt more than one tablet. The only one we possess is partly mutilated, and, the colophon being lost, we do not know what place exactly it occupied in the collection. What we possess, however, strange to say, has never been entirely published. The fragments found at first were published by the trustees of the British Museum 353 and a fragment found afterwards was published by Dr. Haupt. 354 No complete translation of the fragments has been attempted. 355 No doubt because the tablet was considered to be a list of unconnected words and sentences. Some of the paragraphs have, however, been incidentally explained in order to support the interpretation of other texts. 356. In the following translation the Akkadian has been taken as the standard text, but it has often been necessary to follow the Babylonian translation. Some parts of the translation are doubtful, partly on account of the mutilated state of the text and partly because, as many words are not found anywhere else, we have no means of testing their signification. 357 And some paragraphs are still obscure. Text. Ancient Babylonian Agricultural Precepts. Column I. First paragraph lost. 2. In the 6th month 358 of the year, he, the agriculturist, marks his establishment. 3. He agrees about the covenant. 4. He completes the wording of the covenant. V. He collects his tax gift and surrounds the field with hedges. 6. He brings together the gazelles, his flock, and gathers the birds. 7. He is to work, from dawn to dusk. 8. When the time of the working of the field comes, he plows, rakes, and divides it. 9. For every 60 measures of grain the farmer takes 8 measures, wheat produce, straw in stokes, grain thrashed and winnowed. X. Field of half. In this case a field of culture is merely for culture. 11. He, the agriculturist, goes as associate to his associate. 12. He plows the field, he keeps his seeds, he takes the birds together, and gathers manure. 13. He waters the field and multiplies the seeds. 14. When the time of working the field comes he plows and rakes it, and the overseer reports to the lord of the field. 15. Field of partnership. He, the agriculturist, takes a field of partnership with the lord of the field. 16. Everything is made equal and on the same footing, man as man, house as house, seed as seed. 17. When the time of working, reaping, comes, the master sends from his place as help a long cart, an ox for thrashing the corn, and the corn of the field. 1 paragraph lost. Column 2. 3 paragraphs lost. 4. He draws water 359 for the field. V. He takes possession of the field. 6. He fences with sticks the ground to be plowed. 7. He has the field plowed and rakes it. 8. He waters it once and twice. 9. He fixes hooks for the pails for drawing water. X. When the time of working comes, in a field of fifths the farmer takes 1 part. 11. As for the other divisions, he takes the percentage according to the division. 12. In a field of a third, he takes a third. 13. In a field of a fourth, he takes a fourth. 14. In a field of a fifth, he takes a fifth. 15. In a field of a tenth, he takes a tenth. 16. As for the tithe, he gives one part as tithe to the palace. One paragraph lost. Reverse. Column 3. I. Of property. 2. Various kinds of divisions, or land tenures. Division of half. Division of a third. Division of a fourth. Division of a fifth. Division of a tenth. Division with a tithe. 3. Furnitures and fixtures. Furniture of the palace. Fences. Sticks for fences. Poles. Threshold. Plowing instruments. Plowing instruments of the field. Poles of the plantation. 4. Enclosure, or garden. Enclosure of the palace. Enclosure of the lord. Enclosure of the associate. He, the agriculturist, marks the limit of his garden. 6. He indicates the limit of the garden by means of boundary stones. 360. 7. He plants date trees in it. 8. He waters the young plants. 9. He strengthens the walls. He completes the paling of the garden. 11. The lord of the garden may give to the farmer his dismissal. 12. He pulls up the paling of the garden. 13. He extends one enclosure to the other. 14. He strengthens the walls. 15. On the 30th of the 8th month, 361 in fine weather. 16. At the time of drying dates. 17. At the time of pulling off the paling. 18. In order to quit himself he delivers to the lord of the plantation 2/3 of the dates. 19. He takes a fixed amount and he sends in money the amount of the produce of the date trees. A paragraph lost. Column 4. I. He makes secure the door and the gate. 2. The servants, or working, house and the dwelling house, also. 3. He establishes for a dwelling his dwelling house as such. 4. Until the house is built, he prepares the beams and makes the foundations. He gathers together the beams which have been cut. 6. He arranges in rows the chief beams. 7. He strengthens the old house with bricks and sets up the uprights. 8. When he does not work in the fields, he works in the house. 9. He makes a small house in the middle of the garden. He lays down the intermediary wall of his foundation. 11. He puts a roof over the wall he has devised. 12. He makes first the house of the man. 13. Let him hold himself cautioned once and twice, even if he is not told so. 14. He works and toils for himself. 15. He pays the wages at the time of the cessation of work. 16. If his wall is not constructed strongly, he must not set up props. 17. The house of comfort must be a house for his comfort. 18. He makes a house as a proper house for a man, as becoming to a man. 19. If the house is not arranged as a proper house, he shall pay a fine of 10 shekels. 2 or more paragraphs and the colophon are lost. The tablet from which the above is a translation is of great importance as giving us information and particulars as to the system of land tenure and cultivation of the land in the early Akkadian period. The tablet speaks first of the simple tenure, and it shows, paragraph 2, that the tenure was to begin legally from the 6th month, that is the Babylonian Oyalu. The end of that month is no doubt meant, and it would tend to confirm the opinion that at an earlier date Tisratu was the first and Oyalu the last month of the year, though the Babylonians might have had an agricultural year. As we have a financial year, a scholastic or university year, etc. After having chosen the farm and agreed to the conditions of the contract, the first step of the farmer was to determine his position towards the treasury, for, among the Babylonians as among us. The payment of the taxes is a proof of the legality of the holding. After that the farmer had to gather his livestock. The tablet says, gazelles, and so carries us back to the earliest period, for the ox and sheep did not come originally from Babylonia, and the first animal domesticated there must have been a kind of gazelle which was found wild in the country. In the tablet, however, the word gazelle is no doubt taken to mean any kind of quadruped. In the same way the word birds designates here domesticated birds, doves, ostriches, and at a later period hens, which were introduced a long time before the Persian conquest. 362 Being once established in his farm, he is to give all his time to it. After these preliminaries about tenure in general come the specifications about the various kinds of tenure. The first spoken of is the tenure by half, as it is called. It appears to signify the properties which used to belong half to the lord and half to the peasant who was attached to the soil as serf. In that case the farmer worked for his master, he kept the livestock and the seeds, but everything was controlled by the agent of the landlord. In the field of partnership, on the contrary, the landlord was placed on the same footing as his tenant. If the latter gave his labor, the former had to provide him with the material, implements, utensils, stock, grain, seeds, etc. After a lacuna of a few paragraphs the tablet speaks of the various works to be performed by the agriculturist or farmer. The tenure of a fifth, or the tenure in which the farmer took a fifth of the produce for himself, was probably the most common in early times, and for this reason is mentioned here. But we also get an account of the percentage to be taken in the other sorts of tenure. To understand this we must suppose that the character of the tenure depended on the quality of the land. In very bad land the farmer was obliged to take a third of the produce to be able to subsist and be prepared for the next season. The first paragraphs of column are devoted to what might be termed legal specification. They enumerate the various sorts of tenure, what are furnitures and fixtures, and the 4 sorts of garden, probably private gardens independent of the farm land. Then we are told about the general field work to be performed independently of the growing of seeds. The farmer may dissolve partnership or resign his contract at the end of the 8th month or March's 1, in fine weather, or at the time of drying the dates, or when the palings are to be pulled out, but only on certain conditions. Column 4 speaks of the works to be performed independently of the field works, and contains very interesting statements. For instance, the farmer was obliged to construct first the house of his workmen. We are even told that if the house is not constructed properly he will have to pay a fine. It is also stated that the farmer must pay his men when the work is finished. Part of paragraph 19 and the colophon are lost at the end of the 4th column, but it is probable that these precepts covered at least another tablet. Before closing it is needful to remark again that the tablet of agricultural precepts did not contain laws but only precepts. In the time of the Babylonian Empire these were no doubt consulted by the lawyers, but the progress of civilization had rendered some of the prescriptions impracticable, and, as is shown by the contract tablets recovered from Babylon, the laws of land tenure had become much more complicated. The India House Inscription of Nebuchadrezzar the Great. Introduction. Translated by the Reverend C. J. Ball. Whether we suppose that this famous relic of the past embodies the ipsissima verba of the great king, in whose name and by whose orders, at all events, it was written and graven in imperishable stone, or that it is the set panegyrical composition of some one of the literary men of his brilliant court, will make little difference to the deep interest which such a monument must always inspire in the minds of thoughtful readers of the prophecies of Jeremiah and the picturesque traditions of the Book of Daniel. Here we have an unquestionable relic of the age of the fall of the Jewish monarchy and the brilliant sunset of Hebrew prophecy, an authentic record, preserved almost intact in its original shape, of the very sovereign whom Jeremiah declared to be Jehovah's chosen servant, and whom, consequently, it was Judah's duty as well as highest political wisdom to obey. And not only this. The inscription paints for us in unfading colors a portrait of the man Nebuchadrezzar. It exhibits in the vivid light of actuality his pride of place and power and greatness, his strong conviction of his own divine call to universal empire, his passionate devotion to his gods. His untiring labors for their glory and the aggrandizement of that peerless capital which was their chosen dwelling place. The style of the inscription is elevated almost to the level of poetry, and the phraseology often recalls familiar expressions of the Old Testament. If I have not noted all such coincidences as they occurred, it was because I felt that they were too obvious and striking for even a cursory reader to miss. In correcting my former version, Proc. Socbibl Arch, December 1887, I have, of course, made use of the other inscriptions of the king. The beautifully written cylinder, numbered April 30th, 85. I, Brit. Muse, has supplied several important corrections of the text. See Proc. Socbibl Arch, March 1889. Some of the Akkadian ideograms and words I have succeeded in explaining and illustrating by means of their Chinese representatives, as will be seen from the notes, cp my papers in Proc. Socbibl Arch, entitled The New Akkadian Text. The India House Inscription of Nebuchadrezzar. Column I. 1. Nebuchadrezzar. 2. King of Babylon. 3. The Prince Exalted. 4. The Favorite of Merodach. 5. The Pontiff Supreme. 6. The Beloved of Nebo. 7. The Serene, the Possessor of Wisdom. 8. Who the Way of their Godhead. 9. Regardeth. 10. Who feareth their Lordship. 11. The Servant 363 Unwearied. 12. Who for the Maintenance 364. 13. Of Esagila and Ezida 365. 14. Daily bethought him, and 15. The Wheel of Babylon. 16. And Borsippa. 17. Regardeth ever. 18. The Wise, the Prayerful. 19. The Maintainer 366 of Esagila and Ezida. 20. The Chiefest Son. 21. Of Nabopolassar. 22. King of Babylon Mi. 23. After that the Lord my God had created me. 24. That Merodach had framed. 25. The creature in the mother. 26. When I was born. 27. When I was created, even I. 28. The holy places of the God I regarded. 29. The way of the God I walked in. 30. Of Merodach, the great Lord, the God my Creator. 31. His cunning works. 32. Highly do I extol. 33. Of Nebo, his true son. 34. The beloved of my majesty. 35. The way of his supreme Godhead. 36. Steadfastly do I exalt. 37. With all my true heart. 38. I love the fear of their Godhead. 39. I worship their lordship. 40. When Merodach, the great Lord. 41. Lifted up the head of my majesty and 42. With lordship over the multitude of peoples invested me, and 43. Nebo, the overseer of the multitude of heaven and earth. 44. For the governing of the peoples. 45. A righteous scepter. 46. Placed in my hands. 47. For me, of them I am heedful. 48. I have regard unto their Godhead. 49. For the mention of their glorious name. 50. I worship the God and Ishtar. 367. 51. To Merodach my Lord I made supplication. 52. Prayers to him I undertook, and 53. The word which my heart looked for. 54. To him I spake. 55. Of old, O Prince, Lord of all that is. 56. For the King whom thou lovest, and 57. Whose name thou callest. 58. That to thee is pleasing. 59. Thou leadest him aright. 368. 60. A straight path thou appointest him. 61. I am a prince obedient unto thee. 62, a creature of thy hands. 63, thou it was that madest me, and 64, with sovereignty over the multitude of the peoples. 65, didst invest me. 66, according to thy goodness, O Lord. 67. Wherewith thou crownest. 68, all of them. 69, thy lordship supreme do thou make loving, 369 and 70, the fear of thy Godhead. 71, cause thou to be in my heart. 72, yea, grant that to thee is pleasing. Column 2. 1, for my life truly thou makest. 2, himself, the leader glorious. 3, the open-eyed of the gods, the Prince Merodach. 4, my supplications heard and 5, received my prayers. 6, yea, he made gracious his supreme lordship. 7, the fear of his Godhead. 8, he implanted in my heart. 9, to draw his car, 370. 10, he made me submit the heart. 11, I worshipped his lordship. 12, in his high trust, 371. 13, to far-off lands. 14, distant hills. 15, from the upper sea. 16, to the lower sea, 372. 17, immense journeys. 18. Blocked ways. 19, a place where the path is broken. 20, feet are not. 21, a road of hardships. 22, a journey of straits. 23, I pursued, and 24, the unyielding I reduced. 25, I fettered the rebels. 26, the land I ordered aright, and 27. The people I made to thrive. 28, bad and good. 29, among the people I removed. 373. 30, silver, gold, glitter of precious stones. 31, copper, mismacana wood, cedar. 32, what thing soever is precious. 33, a large abundance. 34. The produce of mountains. 35, the fullness of seas. 36, a rich present. 37, a splendid gift. 38, to my city of Babylon. 39, into his presence I brought. 40, in Esagila. 41, the palace of his lordship. 42, I wrought repairs. 374. 43. Equa, the cell. 44, of the Lord of the gods, Merodach. 45, I made to glisten like suns. 46, the walls thereof. 47, with large gold. 48, like rubble, stone, 375. 49, with ukna 376 and alabaster. 50, the habitation of the house I overlaid. 51. The gate Kilisu, even the beautiful gate. 52, and the gate of Ezida, and Esagila. 53, I had them made brilliant as the sun. 54, the bright seat, the place of them that determine destinies. 55. Which is the quarter of assembly, the chapel of the fates. 56, wherein, at Zagmuku 377 the opening of the year. 57, on the 8th day, and, the 11th day. 58, the divine king, the God of heaven, and, earth, the Lord of heaven. 59. Taketh up his abode. 60, the gods of heaven, and, earth. 61, with awe submit unto him. 62, they bow, they take their stand before him. 63, a destiny of enduring days. 64, as the destiny of my life. 65. They predestine in the midst, thereof. Column 3. 1, that chapel, a chapel of majesty. 2, the chapel of the lordship. 3, of the open-eyed of the gods, the Prince Merodach. 4. Whose fabric a former king. 5. In silver had fabricated. 6. With shining gold, a splendid decoration. 7. I overlaid it. 8. The vessels of the house Esagila. 9. With large gold. 10. The bark of Merodach with Zarira stones. 11. I made bright. 12. As the stars of the heavens. 13. The temples of Babylon. 14. I filled. 15. Of Itiman, Anna, Key 378. 16. In burnt brick, and, fine Uckna stone. 17. I reared its summits. 18. To make Esagila. 19. My heart lifted me up 379. 20. In chief have I regarded it. 21. The choicest of my cedars. 22. Which from Lebanon. 23. The noble forest, I brought. 24. For the roofing of Equa. 25. The cell of his lordship. 26. I looked out, and my heart vowed. 380. 27. The huge cedar beams. 28. For the roofing of Equa. 29. With shining gold I overlaid. 30. The panels under the cedar of the roofing. 31. With gold and precious stones. 32. I made bright. 33. For the making of Esagila. 34. Daily I besought. 35. The King of the gods, the Lord of lords. 36. Borsippa, the city of his abode. 37. I beautified, and 38. Ezida, the eternal house. 39. In the midst thereof I made. 40. With silver, gold, precious stones. 45. Copper, Mismacana wood, 381 cedar wood. 42. I finished the work of it. 43. The cedar of the roofing. 44. Of the cells of Nebo. 45. With gold I overlaid. 46. The cedar of the roofing of the gate of Nana. 47. I overlaid with shining silver. 48. The bulls, the leaves of the gate of the cell. 49. The lintels, the bars, the bolt, 382. 50. The doorsill, 383 Zarira stone. 51. The cedar of the roofing. 52. Of its chambers, 384. 53. With silver I made bright. 54. The path to the cell. 55. And the way to the house. 56. Was of, glazed brickwork. 57. The seat of the chapel therein. 58. Was, a work of silver. 59. The bulls, the leaves of the gates. 60. With plates of bronze. 61. Brightly I made to glisten. 62. The house I made gloriously bright, and 63. For gazings, of wonder. 64. With carved work 385 I had, it, filled. 65. The temples of Borsippa. 66. I filled. 67. Of the house of the 7 spheres of heaven and earth. 68. In burnt bricks, and, gleaming Uckna stone. 69. I reared the heads thereof. 70. The bark of the river of Gonulu, 386. 71. The car of his princeliness. Column 4. 1. The bark of the way of Zagmuku. 2. The festival of Babylon. 3. Its sides. 4. And, the pavilion within it. 5. I overlaid. 6. With Tirasasu stone. 7. The house of the drink offering, the exalted resting place. 8. Of the Lord of the gods, Merodach. 9. The master of the revels and rejoicings. 10. Of the Ijiji and the Anunnaki, 387. 11. On the ramparts of Babylon. 12. With bitumen and burnt brick. 13, mountain high I erected. 14, the great house, Edimernin Karshaga. 15, in the heart of Babylon. 16, for the great goddess, the mother that made me. 17, in Babylon I built. 18. For Nebo, the exalted messenger. 19, who bestowed a righteous scepter. 20, for governing all habitable places. 21, Ishapakalama his house. 22, in Babylon. 23, with bitumen and burnt brick. 24, I constructed the structure thereof. 25. For sin, 388 that brighteneth. 26, my boundary walls. 27, Gisher-gal, his house. 28, in Babylon I made. 29, for Shamash, the judge supreme. 30, who putteth the righteous purpose 389 in my mind. 31, Isakut Kalama, his house. 32. In Babylon. 33, with bitumen and brick. 34, loftily I made. 35, for Rimmon 390 who causeth abundance. 36, in my land, Enamgi, his house. 37, in Babylon, I built. 38, for Gula that spareth. 39, that fostereth my life. 40. Esabad, Ekarsagela. 41, her houses in Babylon. 42, with bitumen and burnt brick. 43, in fair wise I built. 44, for the dame of the house of heaven. 45, the lady that loveth me. 46, Ekikukus, her house. 47. In the produce of the wall of Babylon. 48, loftily I made. 49, for the son of the house, that shattereth. 50, the sword of my foes. 51, his house in Borsippa I made. 52, for Gula, the lady. 53, that mocketh whole my flesh. 54. Egula, Attila, Ezabatilla. 55, her 3 temples. 56, in Borsippa I made. 57, for Rimmon, that reigneth. 58, the reign of plenty in my land. 59, his house in Borsippa. 60, in fair wise I built. 61, for sin, that lifteth 391 the snare. 62. Of my welfare. 63, Edimana, his house. 64, at the side of the precinct of Ezida. 65, splendidly I made. 66, Imagabel. 67, and Nimidibel. 68, the great ramparts of Babylon 392. 69, which Nabopolassar. 70. King of Babylon, the father that begot me. 71, had made and not finished. 72, the work of them. Column V. 1, whose moat he had dug, and 2, the 2 strong walls. 3, with bitumen and burnt brick. 4, had constructed along its bank. 5. The dikes of the Iraq to 393. 6, had made, and 7, a fence of burnt brick. 8, on the other side of Euphrates. 9, had constructed, and 10, had not finished. 11, the rest. 12, from the bright seat. 13. The place of them that determine destinies. 14, the shrine of the fates. 15, unto Aibershabu. 16, the causeway of Babylon. 17, before the gate of Beltiz. 18, with brick, and Turkmena, Bonda 394 stone. 19. Along the way of the great Lord Merodach. 20, he beautified the road. 21, as for me, his eldest son. 22, the beloved of his heart. 23, Imagabel. 24, and Nimidi-Bel. 25, the great ramparts of Babylon. 26, I finished. 27. Beside the scarp of its moat. 28, the two strong walls. 29, with bitumen and burnt brick I built, and 30, with the wall, which my father had constructed. 31, I joined them, and 32, the city, for cover. 33, I carried them round. 34. A wall of burnt brick. 35, at the ford of the setting sun. 36, the rampart of Babylon. 37, I threw around. 38, Bershabu. 39, the causeway of Babylon. 40, for the way of the great Lord Merodach. 41, to a high elevation. 42. I raised 395 and 43, with brick, and Derminabonda stone. 44, and stone, the work 396 of mountains. 45, Bershabu. 46, from the shining gate. 47, to Ishtar that hurleth down them that assail her. 48, for the way of his Godhead. 49. I made fair, and 50, with what my father had done. 51, I connected it, and 52, I beautified. 53, the road. 54, of Ishtar, that hurleth down. 55, them that assail her. 56, of Image-Bel. 57, and Nimidi-Bel. 58, the portals, on both sides. 59. Through the raising. 60, of the causeway of Babylon. 61, had become low. 62, in their entries. 63, those portals. 64, I pulled down, and column 6. 1, over against the water their foundation. 2, with bitumen and burnt brick. 3. I firmly laid, and 4, with burnt brick, and gleaming Ukna stone. 5, whereof bulls and dreadful serpents. 6, were made, the interior of them 397. 7, cunningly I constructed. 8, strong cedar beams. 9, for the roofing of them. 10, I laid on. 11. Doors of cedar. 12, with plating of bronze. 13, lintels and hinges. 14, copperwork, in its gates. 15, I set up. 16, strong bowls of copper. 17, and dreadful serpents, standing upright. 18, on their thresholds I erected. 19. Those portals. 20, for the gazings of the multitude of the people. 21, with carven work I caused to be filled. 22, as an outwork 398 for Image-Bel. 23, the wall of Babylon, unapproachable. 24, what no king before me had done winky face. 25. At 4,000 cubits off. 26, on the flanks of Babylon. 27, from afar unapproachable. 28, a mighty rampart, at the ford of the sunrising. 29, Babylon I threw around. 30, its moat I dug, and the bank of it. 31, with bitumen and brick. 32. I bound together, and 33, the mighty rampart on the marge of it. 34, mountain high I built. 35, its portals broad. 36, I constructed, and 37, the doors in cedar, with plating of bronze. 38, I set them up. 39. That foes might not present 399 the face. 40, the bounds of Babylon might not approach. 41, great waters. 42, like the volume of the sea. 43, the land I carried round, and 44. The crossing of them. 45. Was, like the crossing of the great sea. 46. Of the briny flood. 47. An outburst of that within them. 48. Not to suffer to befall. 49. With a bank of earth. 50. I embanked them, and 51. Walls of kiln brick. 52. I threw around them. 53. The wards skillfully. 54. Did I strengthen, and 55. The city of Babylon. 56. I made a fortress. 57. Dabi-Sabershu. 58. The wall of Borsippa. 59. Anew I made. 60. Its moat I dug, and 61. With bitumen and burnt brick. 62. I fenced its bank. 63. Nebuchadrezzar. Column 7. 1. King of Babylon. 2. Whom Merodach, the great lord. 3. For the weal of his city. 4. Babylon did call, Mi. 5. Esagila and Ezida. 6. Like the brilliance of the sun I made shine. 7. The temples of the great gods. 8. Like day I made bright. 9. Formerly, from the days of yore. 10. To the reign. 11. Of Nabopolassar, king of Babylon. 12. The father that begot me. 13. The many kings my predecessors. 14. Whose name the God. 15. Named for the sovereignty. 16. In their favorite cities. 17. In a place they determined on. 18. Palaces they built themselves. 19. They set up their abode. 20. Their wealth within. 21. They heaped up. 22. They piled their substance. 23. On the feast of Zagmuku. 24. The merrymaking of the Lord of the gods, Merodach. 25. They entered Babylon. 26. From the time that Merodach created me. 27. For sovereignty. 28. From the time that, Nebo his true son. 29. Committed his subjects, to me. 30. Like dear life. 31. Love I the building of their lodging place. 32. Besides Babylon and Borsippa. 33. I did not beautify a city. 34. In Babylon. 35. My favorite city, which I love. 36. The palace, the house of the gazings of the people. 37. The bond of the country. 38. The splendid mansion. 39. The abode of royalty. 40. In the land of Babylon. 41. That is in the midst of Babylonia. 42. From Image-Bel. 43. To Libel-Kigala. 44. The canal of the sunrising. 45. From the bank of the Euphrates. 46. To Ai-Bershabu. 47. Which Nabopolassar. 48. King of Babylon, the father who begot me. 49. With sun-dried brick had erected, and 50. Dwelt therein. 51. By the waters of a flood. 52. Its foundation was weakened, and 53. Through the raising. 54. Of the causeway of Babylon. 55. Of that palace. 56. Lo had become the gates of it. 57. Its walls of 400 sun-dried brick. 58. I pulled down, and 59. Its record I uncovered, and 60. The bottom of the water I reached. 61. Over against the water its foundation. 62. I firmly laid, and 63. With bitumen and burnt brick. Column 8. 1. I reared it high. 2. As the wooded hills. 3. Stout cedars for the roofing of it. 4. I laid on 5. Doors of cedar. 6. With a plating of bronze. 7. Sills and hinges. 8. Of copperwork, in its gates. 9. I set up 10. Silver, gold, precious stones. 11. Everything that is prized. 12. Is magnificent. 13. Substance, wealth. 14. The ornaments of majesty. 15. I heaped up within it. 16. Strength, splendor. 17. Royal treasure. 18. I hoarded within it. 19. Because the establishment of my royalty. 20. In another city. 2. My heart loveth not. 22. In no dwelling places. 23. Built I an abode of lordship. 24. Riches, and the ornaments of royalty. 25. I place not. 26. Among the lands. 27. In Babylon. 28. A stead for my abode. 29. For the insignia of my royalty. 30. Was not to be found. 31. For that the fear of Merodach my lord. 32. Was in my heart. 33. In Babylon. 34. His fenced city. 35. To make large. 36. The seat of my royalty. 37. His street I altered not. 38. His chapel I demolished not. 39. His canals I filled not up. 40. A stead far and wide. 41. I looked for. 42. For an outwork 401. 43. To Imagerbel. 44. The wall of Babylon, unapproachable. 45. At 490 cubits off. 46. On the flanks of Nemidibel. 47. The outer wall of Babylon. 48. For cover. 49. Of the 2 strong walls. 50. With bitumen and burnt brick. 51. A rampart mountain like I made. And 52. Betwixt them. 53. A structure of burnt brick I constructed, and 54. On the top of it a great stead. 55. For the seat of my royalty. 56. With bitumen and burnt brick. 57. Loftily I made, and 58. With my father's palace I joined it, and 59. In a salutary month, on a lucky day. 60. The foundation of it in the bosom of broad earth. 61. I firmly laid, and 62. The top of it I reared. 63. High as the wooded hills. 402. 64. On the 15th day, the work of it. Column 9. 1. I finished, and 2. Made splendid the seat of lordship. 3. Strong male cedars. 4. The growth of high mountains. 5. Huge female cedars. 6. And cypresses. 7. Costly stones glittering. 8. For the roofing of it I laid on. 9. Doors of Mismachana. 10. Cedar, cypress. 11. Usha 403 and ivory 404. 12. The frame of silver, and gold. 13. And the plating bronze. 14. The thresholds and hinges. 15. Copperwork. 16. In the gates of it I set up, and 17. With a cornice of Uknu its tops. 18. I surrounded. 19. A strong wall. 20. In bitumen and burnt brick. 21. Mountain-like I threw around it. 22. On the flanks of the wall of brick. 23. A great wall. 24. With huge stones. 25. The yield of great mountains. 26. I made, and 27. Like mountains. 28, I raised its heads. 29, that house for gazings. 30, I caused to be made, and 31, for the beholding of the multitude of the people. 32, with sculptures I had, it, filled. 33, the awe 405 of power, the dread. 34. Of the splendor of sovereignty. 35, its sides begird, and 36, the bad unrighteous man. 37, cometh not within it. 38, that no foe might appear, 406. 39, on the sides of the wall of Babylon. 40, a bulwark against him, 407. 41, I built afar, and 42. The city of Babylon. 43, I made strong. 44, as the wooded hills. 45, to Merodach, my lord. 46, I made supplication, and lifted up my hands. 47, Merodach, Lord, open-eyed of the gods. 48, glorious prince. 49. Thou it was that createdst me, and 50, with the sovereignty of a multitude of peoples. 51, didst invest me. 52, like dear life. 53, I love the exaltation of thy lodging place. 54, besides thy city of Babylon. 55, in no place. 56. Have I adorned a city? 408. 57, like as I love. 58, the fear of thy Godhead. 59, and, seek unto thy lordship. 60, favorably regard the lifting up of my hands. 61, hear my prayers. 62, I verily am the maintaining king. 63. That mocketh glad thine heart. 64, the careful servant. 65, that maintaineth 409 all thy town. Column X. 1, at thy behest. 2, O merciful Merodach. 3, may the house I have made. 4, therewith 410 endure. And 5. With the fullness of it may I be satisfied, and 6, within it. 7, hoar age may I reach. 8, may I be satisfied with offspring. 9, of the kings of the world. 10, of all men. 11, their heavy tribute. 12, may I receive within it. 13. From nadir to zenith. 14, and, where the sun riseth. 15, may I have no enemies. 16, foemen may I possess not. 17, my posterity within it. 18, for evermore. 19, over the blackheads 411 may they rule. Contract tablets relating to Belshazzar. Introduction. Translated by the editor. The 3 contracts which follow are among the numerous cuneiform documents of the same class, the publication of which we owe to the indefatigable labors of Dr. Strassmayer. They are published in his Babylonish text, in Schriften von Nabonidus, I. 3, Nos. 184, 581, and 688, and are interesting on account of their references to Belshazzar, the eldest son of Nabonidus, whose name is written in Babylonian by Belshazzar, O Bel, defend the king. It is especially curious to learn from one of them that the heir apparent to the throne had to conform to the same legal obligations as the meanest of his subjects. Security was exacted by him for the payment of a debt, a portion of the security being a house inhabited by a Persian. As Persian slaves are mentioned in other deeds of the period, it is possible that the Persian in question was a slave. At all events, the notice of him proves that there were Persians living in Babylon before the conquest of the country by Cyrus. The third document, it will be observed, is dated 6 years before the overthrow of Nabonidus and the entrance of Cyrus into Babylon. Text. Contract tablets relating to Belshazzar. No. I. A house belonging to Nebuchadrezzar, the son of Sula, the son of Ejabai, which adjoins the house of Bel-Nadin, the son of Rimmit, the son of the soldier. For 12 has been handed over, by Nebo-Achiedan, for 3 years to Nebo-Yuchanaki the secretary for 13 of Belshazzar, the son of the king, for 1.5 manes of silver, subletting of the house being forbidden, as well as interest on the money. Nebo-Yuchanaki undertakes to plant trees and repair the house. For 14 at the expiration of the 3 years Nebo-Achiedan shall repay the money, namely 1.5 manes, to Nebo-Yuchanaki, and Nebo-Yuchanaki shall quit the house in the presence of Nebo-Achiedan. The witnesses are Kabtiah, the son of Tabniah, the son of Ejabai, Tabixzerah, the son of Nergal-Usalim, the son of Sinkarabi-Isaim, Nebo-Zerahibni, the son of Ardiah, and the priest Belakibasa, the son of Nebo-Balatsuikbi. Dated, Babylon, the 21st day of Nisan, the 5th year of Nabonidus king of Babylon. 415. No. 2. The sum of 20 manes of silver for wool, the property of Belshazzar, the son of the king, which has been handed over to Idin-Merodach, the son of Basa, the son of Ner-Sin. Through the agency of Nebot-Sabat the steward of the house 416 of Belshazzar, the son of the king, and the secretaries of the son of the king. In the month Adar, of the 11th year, of Nabonidus, he gives the money, namely 20 manes. The house of the Persian 417 and all his property in town and country shall be the security of Belshazzar, the son of the king, until he shall pay in full the money aforesaid. The money which he shall, meanwhile, make upon the property. For 18 he shall pay as interest. Witnessed by Belidan, the son of Rimmit, the son of the soldier. Itilpi, the son of the father of the house, Nadin, the son of Merodach-Samutzer, the son of the superintendent of the works, Nergal-Usalim, the son of Merodach-Eder, the son of Geshurah, Merodach-Natsir, the son of Samus. The son of Dababi, and the priest Belakiedan, the son of Nebo-Balatsuikbi. Dated, Babylon, the 20th day of the month, the 11th year of Nabonidus king, of Babylon. 419. No. 3. 1 mané 16 shekels of silver capital and interest, the property 420 of Nebot-Sabatida, the steward of the house of Belshazzar, the son of the king, which he owes to Beladina, the son of Belsamiskin, the son of Sintabni. And the seed grown in sight of the chief gates of Babylon, which has been taken as security for it. The money, namely 1 mané 16 shekels, Nebot-Sabatida, by the agency of Iddi-Merodach-Baladu, the son of Nebo-Achiedan, the son of Ejabai, has presented to Beladina. The witnesses are Nebo-Adina, the son of Ramutu, the son of Kiki. For 21 Beladina, the son of Belsamiskin, the son of Sintabni, Nebo-Zerahzer, the son of Ina-Esu-Eder, the son of the Omuk, for 22 Nadanu, the son of Merodach-Hidnaki, Nergal-Usalim, the priest, the son of Merodach-Eder, the son of Geshurah. Dated, at Babylon, the 27th day of the 2nd Adar, for 23 the 12th year of Nabonidus king of Babylon. 424. The Kings of Ararat. Beinus or Van. B.C. The earlier dynasty ends with Aram-Asir 857 to 840. 1. Sarduris I, the son of Ludipris, founds the city of Duspaz, Van, and the later dynasty 840. 2. Ispuines, the settler, his son Ispuines and his son Menuas together. 3. Menuas alone. 4. Argistus I, his son 780. 5. Sarduris II, his son. 6. Ru-Sasi, called Ursa by the Assyrians 730. 7. Argistus II 715. 8. Aramenes, his son. 9. Ru-Sas II, his son 660. 10. Sarduris III. 645. Ararat conquered by Media 610. The Kings of Persia. B.C. 1. Achaemenes, Hachemanish. 2. Tisps, Chaspash, his son. He conquers Susiania and rules in Anzan Siart 600. 3. Ariaramnes, Ariaramna, son of Tisps, in Persia. 3. Kairos I, Kuris, son of Tisps, in Anzan. 4. Arshama, son of Ariaramnes, in Persia. 4. Cambyses I, Kamajaya, son of Kairos, in Anzan. 5. Kairos II, or Agridates, son of Cambyses, in Anzan. He conquers Media, and founds the Persian Empire 550. 6. Cambyses II, his son 529. 7. Gomates, Gaumata, the Magian, the Pseudobards or Smyrdes, usurps the throne for 7 months 521. 8. Dariavosh, son of Histasps, Vishtaspa, and grandson of Arsams 521. 9. Xerxes I, Xhayarsha, his son 485. 10. Artaxerxes I, Artaxerxes, Longimanus, his son 465. 11. Xerxes II, his son, for 2 months 425. 12. Sogdianos, his half-brother, for 7 months 425. 13. Dareios II Nothos, Okos, his brother 425-424. 14. Artaxerxes II Neman, his son 426-405. Revolt of Kairos the younger 401. 15. Okos, Uvesu, son of Artaxerxes 362. 16. Arses his son 339. 17. Dareios III Kotomanos 336 conquered by Alexander 330 the end.